Good morning, everyone. Welcome to this ASSA ABLOY Academy presentation. Corbin Russwin, virtual instructor-led training. This is day one. Today, we're going to talk about mortise locks. We're going to finish up the morning talking about some of the tools that we have that make it easy to do business with ASSA ABLOY. We're going to break for lunch. And this afternoon, we will talk about cylinders and how to order key systems. You will receive credit for this on ASSA ABLOY Academy. The transcript will reflect the 8 hours of training that you've received. That will be done at the conclusion of the Thursday session. Once you have done both sessions, you will receive the 8 hours credit. You will also be able to revisit a recorded version of this session in case you missed anything or had any questions. Within 24 hours, it should be posted onto the Academy website for your use. Again, my name is Tom Seidel. I am a training specialist with ASSA ABLOY Academy. I've been in the industry for a couple years. Started out in distribution. I work for a family-run distributor here in Pennsylvania, where I'm from. And more years than I would like to count, I left distribution. I wanted to see how the other side lived, so I became a manufacturer's rep for Yale Security and Corbin Russwin at about the same time that ASSA ABLOY purchased Yale Security Group. I joined the Door Security Solutions team as a sales rep for them, mainly calling on distributors as well as architects and writing specifications. And about 5 years ago, I had the opportunity to join the Academy and become a training specialist. So all this information that's rattled around in my head, I get to share with you guys. You will be muted during the session, but you have the ability to unmute yourself to ask a question. I like this to be very interactive. We also have a chat feature. You can use the chat feature if you have a question that you'd like to type out. So let's go ahead again and talk about what we're going to discuss today. Part one, our morning agenda. We're going to talk about the history of Corbin Russwin a little bit. We're going to talk about the products and the part number streams for Corbin Russwin. Then we're going to jump into mortise locks. We will do an overview of the features and benefits. We will then put together some part numbers, do some pricing exercises. We will take a break at the top of each hour to allow everyone a bio or a coffee break. And then we'll come back and talk about the ease of doing business with ASSA ABLOY. Also, how to avoid some order delays, how to get your product faster to you. This afternoon, we will take an hour break to allow for lunch. We will then jump into cylindrical locks, features and benefits, part numbers. We'll do some cylindrical lock exercises, and then we'll get into cylinders and cores and ordering key systems. Any of you that has sat in on my Sargent or Yale training sessions, we try to schedule them exactly the same format so you can come back and see what you missed if you do have to hop off for any reason. On Thursday, we'll reconvene talking about exit devices. Again, the part number explanation, pricing exercises. We will then get into access control products that Corbin Russwin offers. The second half of the day on Thursday will be door closers. We'll go through features, benefits, part numbers. We'll do some pricing exercises on those as well. Then we'll jump into auxiliary locks and behavioral health products that are available through Corbin Russwin. And we'll have a little bit of time at the end to recap. Again, you can ask the questions in real time. You can use the chat, or if you don't feel comfortable, if there's a question that you feel I didn't address, you can go ahead and send me an email at my thomas.seidel@assaabloy.com. or you all have my cell phone number from the invitation this morning as well. Again, we're going to do a overview of the product. This is not meant to be an all-inclusive. We do have instructor-led trainings, a 3-day instructor-led training once we are cleared to conduct in-person training. We conduct those classes in Berlin, Connecticut. If you can make the trip up, we'd love to have you up there. We also have several other instructor-led classes coming up, and the announcement goes out every week with the next 2 weeks worth of upcoming training sessions. What we're showing you here is a picture of the ASSA ABLOY Berlin factory. It is a very large factory that's been in that location since 1969, and it's laid out in what we call groups, or what we call profit centers. So they manufacture cylindrical locks in a center, they manufacture X devices in a center, cylinders in a center. So each one of those centers has a manager that's responsible for that area, as well as tech reps that oversee that area, as well as engineering that are all cross-trained. So we love to show the factory. If you get a chance, come see us. That building there, ASSA ABLOY Berlin, houses Corbin Russwin, as well as McKinney Hinge, Yale Commercial. We stock some Yale Residential there, some Aero Quick Ship, as well as our Flash Ship location for our 24-hour quick ship products are housed in that Berlin plant as well. And we have enough room in that facility, we could probably add another few companies in. It is a huge facility. What this picture doesn't show you is our solar farm. The green area that you see to the top right and the top left have been converted into a solar farm. And the third phase that we've put online, I believe, covers about 70 to 75% of the energy consumed by this plant. We're also very proud that we have an ASSA ABLOY Academy Training Center located here as well. So we do instructor-led trainings there. Again, once we're cleared and able to actually have you, we would love to have you attend a class up there. A little bit of history about the company. Company dates back to the mid 1800s. 1839, Russell and Irwin Manufacturing Company started. Corbin was P&F Corbin. They were separate companies, and they competed against each other in the New England market as well as the U.S. In 1902, those companies formed into American Hardware Corporation. As American Hardware Corporation, they still maintained the two different brands, the Corbin and the Russwin. They were separate companies, but the products were very similar in nature. And it was a good strategic move because, again, it allowed American Hardware Corporation to have two positions in a spec, possibly a Russwin spec or a Corbin spec. And when we start talking about keying, you'll see, because they were separate companies with this long history, there are so many available keyways out there. And Corbin Russwin maintains all of those old existing keyways that a customer is still using. So we haven't ever thrown out a key system and said it's no good anymore. If it's something that's in and a facility is still using it, we will maintain it. So from 1902 to 1964, American Hardware ran the company. They sold to a company called Emhart. Emhart became the parent company. They moved the plant to Berlin, Connecticut from New Britain, Connecticut, which was virtually right down the road. And they're in that facility to this day. One thing about the Emhart ownership, we will talk about an Emhart key system, which was Corbin Russwin's security keyway. That is still available for existing systems. We'll talk about the uniqueness of that compared to our standard systems. So in 1989, Black & Decker company acquired Emhart, which meant that Corbin and Russwin became part of the Black & Decker family. And Black & Decker was good at making tools. They also had some residential lock products. And there was a reason, perhaps, strategically for them to have the company. In 1992, they merged the Corbin and Russwin divisions, and that's when they became Corbin Russwin. No longer were they separate companies within the same building. 1993, Corbin Russwin was purchased by Yale Security Group, Williams Holding Company. They were a money company. They were a financial institution. They were not in the hardware business, and they were there to make as much money out of the company as possible. So from 1993 to 2001, when Yale Security was, let's continue on. So I was speaking about 2001 when Yale Security was purchased by ASSA ABLOY. ASSA ABLOY is a hardware brand. ASSA ABLOY has invested a lot of money into the brand, into the factories, into the equipment and tooling, and Corbin Russwin has never been in a stronger position than they are today. Let's go ahead and take a little look at a video.
For more than 175 years, Corbin Russwin has been a premier manufacturer of architectural hardware, providing high-quality, durable solutions for even the most demanding applications. Our industry-leading portfolio includes a wide range of lock sets, exit devices, door closers, decorative hardware, advanced key systems, and electronic access control solutions. And many of them are purpose-built for specific environments. Our T-Zone board lock, the CL3100 series, can withstand up to 3,000 inch-pounds of torque and far exceeds Grade 1 requirements. The Secure Bolt, a unique exit device featuring an oversized square deadbolt, resists static load forces and prevents unauthorized entry. And our innovative electronic access control solutions combine physical security with access control in a wide range of technologies, from standalone to wired to wireless installations. The Corbin Russwin culture of product innovation combines with a high-tech manufacturing environment to produce reliable, durable products. Advanced manufacturing equipment like sophisticated robotics and automation technologies work alongside a skilled workforce to make Corbin Russwin the industry's premier production facility. And not only is our facility high-tech, it is gone green. Corbin Russwin is committed to providing products that are environmentally sound throughout the production process and the product lifecycle.
Our facility is Green Circle ISO 14001, 2004, and ISO 9001, 2008 certified, and certain products are UL certified for reduced environmental impact.
And recently installed a 4-acre renewable energy solar array to help offset the plant's energy use. ASSA ABLOY Door Security Solutions, our talented network of professional sales representatives, provides a wealth of knowledge about Corbin Russwin products. Customer and user services include specification writing, site surveys, product troubleshooting, and the development of key systems, all backed by a dedicated and responsive internal service organization, delivering the product and customer support you need to win and secure any project. Innovative, high-performance products, advanced manufacturing, responsive support, and a commitment to the environment. Corbin Russwin is your first choice for premium architectural hardware solutions.
All right, let's talk about standards testing. There is an organization called ANSI, American National Standards Institute. They conduct all of the cycle and durability testing for the products for the Builders Hardware Manufacturers Association, BHMA. And we will talk about the minimum requirements to meet these grade certifications, as well as what Corbin Russwin does well above and beyond. And this is a document that we have available to our customers that shows products that have been tested well above and beyond that ANSI minimum standard requirement. Specifically today, we're going to talk about our mortise locks, our ML2000 series. Our 67 function has been tested over 10 million cycles. Our 51 function has been tested over 3 million cycles. So ANSI BHMA certification requires 1 million cycles to be grade 1. So we test well above and beyond that minimum requirement. And when we're talking about architectural products or specified products, all of those manufacturers would have done extended cycle testing above and beyond that minimum requirement. When we get into our commercial type projects, the design build type projects, that's where you see products that maybe have only tested to that minimum requirement. So we're going to point out with products what we've tested above and beyond. And I know if we're putting a specification together, like products, other industrial architectural products will also have this documented third-party cycle testing. This is not Corbin Russwin saying we've met these requirements and exceeded these requirements. This is an independent third party that we can provide that documentation to an owner if it's important to them. So know that we have gone well above and beyond the minimum requirements. Our mortise lock has tested between 3 and 10 million cycles. Our cylindrical lock has tested over 2 million cycles for our grade 1. Our exit devices, our premium exit device is tested over 9.9 million cycles. Our economy type device is tested to 6.5 million cycles. Our door closers, our DC6 and our DC8000 have tested over 25 million cycles. And we're going to show you why that's unique when we get into the individual products. So I think it's important here to talk about nomenclature. Corbin Russwin has the easiest nomenclature to learn, in my opinion, having sold several different brands over the years in distribution, having repped for Assa Abloy for several years. Each brand has their own unique features and benefits, but I think one of the things with Corbin Russwin, to somebody new in the industry, they're the easiest to learn. Every letter, every number means something for the product. So with Corbin Russwin, all products are identified by an alphanumeric code. Starts out with 2 letters. And then behind those 2 letters, there will be the first 2 digits. Those first 2 digits will indicate the series. And then the last 2 digits will tell us the function. The beauty of Corbin Russwin's products, once you learn the basic functions, all of the cylindrical lock functions are the same numbers. All of the mortise lock functions are the same numbers. All of the exit device trim functions are the same numbers. So if you know a classroom function, it's going to be the same through all product series. Again, looking at the series, ML stands for mortise lock. We offer one series, the 2000 series. We have the cylindrical lever, the CL series. The CL series stands for cylindrical lever. We have 4 different series there, the 31, the 33, the 35, and the 38. We have a cylindrical knob series, the 43 and the 44. The CK stands for cylindrical knob. UT stands for our unit lock. We have one series of that, and we'll talk about that this afternoon when we get to cylindrical locks. DL stands for deadlock. PL stands for padlock. ED, exit device. We're going to talk about those as well. We have the 4000 series, the 5000 series, the 3000 series, the 7000 series, and the 8000 series. And the first digit for the exit device will signify the series. The second digit will tell you how it's mounted, whether it's a rim device, a surface vertical rod, a mortise, a concealed vertical rod. And then the last 2 digits can change based on application. We'll talk about that. But the functions for the device are all controlled by the trim. We'll talk about that when we get into X devices. DC stands for door closer. We have a 32, a 52, a 62, a 64, and an 82. We'll talk about each one of those as well. The first 2 digits signify the series of closer. The next 2 digits specify mount. Another unique thing with Corbin Russwin that you'll see is if there is a 8 or a 9 added between the series and the function. That will signify that that is an electrified product. So anything with an electrified modification, power to unlock, power to lock, keypad locks, things like that, will always have a separate 8 or a 9 in the part number stream. And that follows through on all of those products, cylindrical locks, mortise locks, if it's applicable to them. So function numbers, again, once you learn the function numbers with Corbin Russwin, they operate in all the series. If you see a 0 at the end of the function number, that's telling you it's not keyed. So there's 0 cylinders. If you see a 1, a 3, a 5, a 7, an 8, and a 9, that is a keyed function with 1 cylinder. And if you see a 2 at the end of the function number, that tells you it's double keyed. There's a cylinder on the outside and a cylinder on the inside. There's only one exception to that rule. Our mortise lock, our ML2087 function, has 2 cylinders. That's the only product in all those series that doesn't follow those rules. So again, it kind of leads you down a path. Our privacy function, our dummy function, our passage function all have a 0 at the end. Our double keyed functions in cylindrical lock and mortise lock, if you add a 2 at the end of an exit device, it's a double keyed function. It's a classroom security function. Let's continue on. Now that we've talked about the series and then the function, let's talk about how we add options to a mortise lock. Adding options to a mortise lock is very easy. Corbin Russwin uses what we call a quick code suffix, and they all start with a letter, and then there's usually a couple numbers after it. There's one option that is 4 letters. That's our our MELR, which is our exit device with our motorized electric latch retraction. That's the only product option that doesn't follow the same rule. So our M codes are for miscellaneous options. We're showing you an example, an M54. That is for through bolts. W code would be a special width. An H code is a special height. An S code would signify a special strike. D codes are for door thickness. And when you get into door closers, an A code is for a special arm. And if you see a quick code that has a C in it, that's a cylinder type option. And again, they follow through all the series. Let's take a look at some of Corbin Russwin's standard function numbers. And again, these options, if these options are all applicable across series like the through bolts or specialty screws, it's going to be that same code if you want through bolts for a door closer or if you want through bolts for an exit device. Very easy to learn once you know those part numbers. Standard function numbers. A 10 is for passage. A 20 is for privacy. There are a couple other privacies available as well, but the 20 is the standard. 51 is entrance. 55 is classroom. 57 is storeroom. And you notice the example here. We've got a CL3310, which is a cylindrical lever, 3300 series. The 10 tells us it's a passage. ML, mortise lock, 20 tells us it's a 2000 series. The 10 tells us it's a passage function. And we're looking at a exit device trim at the bottom, N, which stands for our Newport lever. The 9 is our 900 series. The 10 tells us it's a passage function exit trim. So again, all of those part numbers for functions stay the same across all series. Let's take it a little deeper. For locks, we start with the series, then function, then the trim. The options are suffix quick code. So CL3355NZD. CL, cylindrical lever. 33 is our heavy duty grade 1. 55 is our classroom function. NZD is our lever. That is our Newport lever with our D rows. Our exit device function that we're showing you here starts with the series, then the style width and mounting. The trim is specified as lever style, then series, then functions. Then the options are added via suffix. I'm showing you an ED 5200 N955. ED stands for exit device. 52 tells us it is a 5000 series. The 2 tells us it's a wide, it's a rim, wide style. The N955, N is the lever, the 9 is the series of trim, the 55 is the function. That is our classroom function trim. Our door closer DC, door closer. 82 is the series. 10 is the arm mount for parallel arm. And the A3 tells us it's a heavy-duty A3 type arm. Let's go ahead and jump into the mortise locks as I promised, now that we've laid the footprint for the part numbers. Mortise locks, ML 2000 series. Again, this is our heavy-duty, operational, and security grade 1 product. And we're talking about operational. This is functions. They test the function of this lock. They operate it. To be grade 1, it's got to go 1,000,000 cycles. So again, this one's been tested over 10 times, ANSI BHMA grade 1 requirements. This lock with our standard fixed core cylinder and our high security cylinders is also security grade 1. Security grade 1 is attack and abuse on the cylinder itself. It has to withstand a certain amount. There are manufacturers that also meet security grade 1. There are other manufacturers that have to add or use a specific cylinder in order to meet security grade 1. Know that Corbin Russwin can meet that right out of the box. The lock is handed from the factory. It is relatively easy to change in the field, but I would recommend ordering it handed. Contractors don't like to spend time changing out hands of products because it wastes time. So if they have 30 locks on a job site and they need rehanded, a minute a lock, there's 30 minutes that they're going to want to pay, someone to pay for. So keep that in mind. We offer 8 standard lever styles for this lock, 2 knobs. We have 4 different escutcheon trims, 3 different rose trims. We have our VR series, vandal resistant trims. We'll talk about those in a minute. We also have some deco and designer trim options. If you want something different than those standard 8, conventional commercial looking trims, we have options for you. Several different finish options. They're all true architectural finishes. We can do powder coat finish. Our white suede powder coat and our black suede powder coat are very popular. We can also custom finish as well. Know that you have that option. We offer this in our standard 41 mechanical functions as well as 12 electrical functions. And we offer a 10-year warranty on this lock. And there is not regular maintenance or servicing that is required to this lock to meet that 10-year warranty. And where does this lock fit in the marketplace? We would happily see this specified side by side against the Schlage L9000 series or the Stanley Best 45H series. Sargent 8200 would be competitive to that as well. So know that we try to keep that to that specified product. Corbin Russwin does not really have a product that we put into that commercial marketplace where it's a price point driven situation. We do have a sister company that fits very well in those negotiated and design build type projects. Let's open the lock here and take a look inside. What's it look like? Okay, Corbin Russwin's steel front has a screw on the top and the bottom, and that gives it adjustability. Let me move my video here because you can't see the lock. There we are. So our 3/32 steel front is adjustable for the bevel of the door, be it an in-swing door or an out-swing door. By loosening that, you adjust that bevel. We use a heavy gauge steel lock case. Our deadbolt, if it's there, is a solid stainless steel 1-inch throw deadbolt. Our latch bolt itself is a 3/4 inch throw. It's a 2-piece anti-friction latch bolt. Our lock comes with an auxiliary dead latch mechanism. That mechanism keeps the latch bolt from being pried open when the door is closed. We utilize a heavy-duty 5/16 steel hub that keeps the lock very durable, very rigid. And the lock is also provided with 3 different internal springs. Those internal springs allow for smooth operation of the lock, as well as returning the lever to an upright and even horizontal position. And I mentioned that the lock is very easy to rehand in the field, but we recommend that you order it from the factory proper. Let's take a look at the rehanding process.
ML2000 series mortise lock can be made left or right-handed with a few simple steps. The angled side of the deadbolt should always face the strike, and the cylinder hole should always be installed facing up. To determine the hand of a door, view the door from the outside or keyed side. In this example, the door swings in. This is a left-hand door. This is a right-hand door. In this example, the door swings out. This is a left-hand reverse door. And this is a right-hand reverse door. The tool required is a flat blade screwdriver. Please wear safety glasses when installing door hardware. Push in the latch. Depress the catch plate with a screwdriver. Push the latch out of the lock body and turn the latch over. Push in the latch. Here it is again. Ensure that the latch is pushed in until the catch plate is no longer depressed. Rotate the lock front to match the bevel of the door. Finally, be sure the red screw is on the locked side of the lock body. The handing is complete.
Again, it is very easy to change that hand in the field. One of the unique things about Corbin Russwin is that latch bolt is captured. You have to depress that with the lock outside of the door. There are manufacturers that you can grab the latch bolt and pull and spin it. To me, that is a security issue because unknowingly or knowingly, a student could violate security by flipping that latch bolt around, closing the door, and they would then have access into that opening just by pulling it or pushing it the opposite way. So it could be an issue. The other manufacturers, I know our sister company, you have to have the lock out and mechanically use a screwdriver to turn the latch bolt out far enough to spin it around. Yale has a similar feature where you still have to use a screwdriver. You could not put enough pressure on that, pulling that thing out of position. So the manufacturers that have a security bit in place make it a little bit harder to vandalize the lock. So let's talk about the trim nomenclature. We talked about the lock set and the function. When we look at the trim, Corbin Russwin's standard lever trim starts out with 3 digits normally. For the deco, it can increase, but they always start in the same configuration. The first digit tells you the lever or knob design. The second digit tells you the construction of the lever or knob. We offer, some of our levers have what we call cast construction or wrought construction. What cast construction is a solid molten piece of metal that is melted and formed into the design. Wrought would be a flat piece of steel or a tubular piece of steel that is bent and manipulated into position. The wrought designs are somewhat less expensive than the cast designs. So when we're comparing between brands, we want to always make sure that our cast design, if it's specified, that the competitor is also using a cast design, because their hollow tubular wrought lever will be much less expensive and it puts us at a disadvantage. So we offer some of our products in both. The Lustra lever that we're showing you there, we can do that in both cast and wrought. And it's important to know that there is a price difference between the two. So once we know the first 2 digits, the third digit will tell us the rose or escutcheon style and construction. So we'll have the example here. We're showing you an LWM. That is a Lustra lever, wrought lever with a wrought escutcheon. The LSM is a Lustra lever, cast design with a wrought escutcheon. There is a difference between the cost between the two of them, so just make sure that you catch that. Here's our standard lever offerings. We have our Lustra, our Regis, our Newport, our Armstrong, Princeton, Citation, Essex, and Dirk levers. There are our standard escutcheons, the M, the N, the P, and the R. We also have our A or B or F roses. This is a standard product offering for that. Everything builds around the ML2000. If it's a knob, it's still an ML2000. Even when we get to our vandal resistant products, our VR products, it's still an ML2000, just adds VR at the end. It's not a separate product stream. So the unique thing about our vandal resistant products is we used a solid cast escutcheon. The levers are all cast. It's double through bolted. You have torque screws on the outside, or security torque screws on the outside, and security torque screws on the inside. So no one can manipulate or take off that lever in escutcheon in the closed position. The levers are attached to the escutcheon from the factory. The levers will remain attached even if they put enough torque on it and break the spindle. The spindle is a replaceable part. We only offer this in our Citation and Newport lever in 630 finish only. So if you do this, you're getting a cast stainless steel escutcheon that is double through bolted. Very, very secure. Our designer series, this is where we're getting above and beyond our standard institutional looks. We want to try a few different looks. We have 3 unique lever styles that almost kind of look a little residential to my eyes, but interior designers like that as a option. It's different than the standard, but well above and beyond that, we offer 3 lever styles, 1 rose, 1 escutcheon trim. We can do these in mortise locks. We can also put it on our exit device trims. But interior designers like options, so Corbin Russwin gives them options. Here are 48 different decorator lever styles, and they are designed to work with our mortise locks. We make a TL tubular lock series as well through Corbin Russwin that has passage, privacy, and dummy trims, because if you're doing a job like this in a condo type situation, you might want to use the mortise lock on the front entrance if you're not doing access control. And then you could use the tubular locks on the closet doors and the bathroom doors, things like that, to keep the costs reasonable. We can also put these on all of our access control locks. So many different options here. 48 lever styles, 9 different roses, both circular and square. We have 2 additional escutcheons. And we also have a roseless trim. On the bottom right, I'm showing you what our roseless trim looks like. It is still a through-bolted trim, but the rose is designed to be minimal and take up a small space. Again, this is for the interior design people. This hides that rose. It's not as pronounced as some of the other roses that you see. It is unique to Corbin Russwin and Sargent. There are no other manufacturers that I'm aware of that have a roseless trim option. And if you're going to specify that, you have to make sure that your door manufacturer is aware of that special prep, because if they cut a big hole like they normally do, then your roseless trim might not cover it. So we have those 48 plus our standard 8 plus our 3 designer trims. There's almost 60 different trims available for that if you include the knobs. Should be something to fit every requirement. Let's take a look at our trim part number again. We have our ML2055 LWM. LWM is our trim. L is our lustre lever. W tells us it's a wrought material. And the M specifies the rose or escutcheon, which happens to be an M type escutcheon. So LWM is the part number. If we were going to do the lustre lever in a solid cast, it would be an LSM. If we were going to do the D rose, it would be an LWD or an LSD. The reinforced wrought, the R, is usually used with the knobs. Common functions, again, for Corbin Russwin. Our 10 is passage, our 20 is privacy, our 51 is entry, our 57 is storeroom, our 55 is classroom, our 52 is our classroom security intruder, which has a cylinder on the inside that locks and unlocks the outside lever. We also offer a 72 function, which is a classroom security intruder with deadbolt. The outside cylinder locks and unlocks just like a normal classroom. You can also project the deadbolt. The inside lever locks and unlocks while projecting the deadbolt, the outside lever. If you have an emergency and you need to leave, you turn the lever on the inside and it retracts the deadbolt. However, the outside lever remains locked. So that is our classroom security. Notice the center column, there is the ANSI, American National Standard Institute function numbers. So if you're converting between brands, if you're converting from Schlage to Corbin Russwin on a project, look at the ANSI function. You know, what they call a privacy, they may have 3 different privacies available. Their engineers will write up a description of what that function looks like and what it's supposed to be. However, their engineer might not know what our engineer wrote, and it might be the exact same function, but different verbiage. But if the ANSI function number is the same, it is the same lock. So Corbin Russwin was asked a few years ago, there are people out there that make a mortise lock that has a multifunction lock body. Can Corbin Russwin do that? Yes, Corbin Russwin can. Our ML 2054 mortise lock can be converted to 12 different functions in that one lock body. And it can go from a passage, storeroom, classroom, entrance, our classroom intruder, our public restroom, utility, or office / entry, plus 4 single-sided functions. Now, by changing the function, you may need to add a cylinder, change the cam on the cylinder, or add additional parts to the lever. If you're going from a double-sided lock to a single-sided lock, you'll need the adapter that makes it into a one-sided lock. But from that lock body, you can do all those functions, which is convenient for stocking distributors as well as end users. Know that it exists. Is it as easy as our sister company, where you can take a screw out and put a screw in a different position? No. But by changing the cam on the cylinder, it actually will do different things. Corbin Russwin shows you in the catalog which is the proper cam to operate the function of the lock set. It's right there in the picture in the catalog, right beside the function numbers and the descriptions. So if you are putting another manufacturer's cylinder into Corbin Russwin, you have to ensure that that cylinder has the proper cam on the back, or it will not work properly. Review of the nomenclature again. We start out with our ML, which is our series, type of lock, mortise lock, 2000 series, then our function, then our trim, lever construction, rose or escutcheon, then our finish, then our handing, then our options. So let's talk about options. I'll go through a couple notable options for the mortise lock. M04 will give you our Torx head, our security type screw. Our M21 gets you a knurled with grooves cut in on the outside lever. M26 is for a non-ferrous lock case. And what we're talking about, ferrous stands for Fe, which is in the periodic table, is iron. So if you have a situation where you are worried about the lock rusting, you might want to go to the non-ferrous lock case. If you're maybe putting it into a swimming pool area or a area with chlorine, that type of situation that could affect the lock body. M29 is for lead wrapped case. M91 is an electrified modification. That is a latch bolt monitor to tell you whether the latch bolt is projected or retracted. The REX is an M92. That's a request to exit switch. That is a switch built into the inside lever that will tell the access control system that somebody's leaving. Corbin Russwin also has the M105 security monitor. And what that does, it combines our latch bolt monitor as well as our dead latch monitor. And you can then tell that the door is closed and secure. If the door is closed, the dead latch is going to be pushed in and the latch bolt is going to be projected. If both of those things aren't right, if somebody comes over and tapes over the edge of the lock to come back in, it's going to tell the access control system there's a problem. We need to go look at this. Our special strikes, our SS is for a straight lipped strike. You can specify a custom length if you want something different from the center to the edge of the lip. Our SA is our curved lip strike. Again, you can specify a longer length for that. Corbin Russwin has come up with some new occupancy indicator options as well. That gives you what we consider the largest viewing window available. It's larger than any of our competitors. It has a reflective coating on the interior to kind of, on the indicator itself, to kind of send your eye to that so it absorbs ambient light and you can see it. You can view it from 180 degrees around the lock. It's available for both escutcheon and sectional trims. There are several different indicator options we're showing you. The unlocked versus locked versus vacant and occupied, showing you a padlock, locked and unlocked, different color variations. We offer them, the vacant could be green or white. The locked is usually red, but if you want something special, we can do that as well. We can also engrave the escutcheon behind it if you're doing a classroom security function. If the teacher has the indicator telling you the outside's unlocked and they know how to turn that key to then lock the outside lever, and it would change the status of your indicator as well. It can be retrofit to existing Corbin Russwin mortise locks as well. We've been asked by engineering if we thought that should we offer this as a retrofit to other brands. So polling the class, you can use the chat or you can unmute yourself. Do you think that's a good idea, a good option to take our occupancy indicator and put it on somebody else's lock? I'll reserve my opinion since nobody wants to speak up. But know that we can do this on our existing Corbin Russwin locks. Another unique feature for Corbin Russwin, our EcoFlex electrified mortise lock. For anyone who sold locks into the access control market, most manufacturers use a solenoid. Several years ago, Corbin Russwin changed from a solenoid to a motor actuator. And what this did is it made the lock much more energy efficient. It utilizes about 95% less energy than a traditional solenoid lock. This lock will operate on 12 or 24 volt DC. It is field selectable between fail safe and fail secure. So those three things make that lock unique to ASSA ABLOY. Sargent also offers the EcoFlex technology in their mortise lock as well. I know that Schlage has an electrified mortise lock that uses a motor actuator, but they haven't released any of their energy efficiency, and I'm not 100% sure that it is field selectable via fail-safe and fail-secure. I would have to check on that. But the unique thing about this, because it uses so much less energy, we can put that power supply much further away than we could with a solenoid lock. We don't have to worry about voltage drop. If you put your power supply in a far distance away from your lock set, and you would have to use a larger gauge wire, a heavier wire, to carry the voltage so you didn't lose voltage due to resistance in the wire going that long distance. And anyone that's ever sold a traditional solenoid lock knows that if something changes in the field and you have to go to 12 volts from 24 volts, you have to replace the lock if it's a solenoid lock. If you need a fail-safe lock and you supplied a fail-secure lock, you have to replace that lock. This lock takes the place of 4 locks in a stocking position because it'll work on 12 to 24 volts. Actually, in the real world, it works 10 to 30 volts. There's a switch. You can switch from fail-safe to fail-secure. And what we're talking about, fail-safe, fail-secure, if you're not 100% sure, it's the condition of the lock when there is no power. Fail-safe would mean the lock is unlocked. It still latches and secures the opening. Fail-secure means that the lock is locked. The lever is locked as is designed. So it's power to unlock if it is fail-secure. It's power to lock if it's fail-safe. And again, if the job site condition changes, if you supply the wrong one, if it's a solenoid, we don't sell the solenoid. You can't open that lock body anymore and replace that out. You got to buy a whole new lock. Corbin Russwin went away years ago from the solenoid. Solenoids on existing projects, if you have a lock that does fail, that was Corbin Russwin solenoid driven, it is backwards compatible, plug and play. We can plug that right into the system. It will operate. Let's talk about keying options available through Corbin Russwin. For the mortise lock, you will get our 1000 series cylinder supplied standard. Our C6 is our large format interchangeable core cylinder. Our CLS6, that is our small format interchangeable core housing only. Corbin Russwin does not offer any small format interchangeable core cylinders at all. But if you're going to supply that Best or Falcon or Aero style small format core, we can provide you with the housing that will have the proper cam on the back to interchange with our lock. You can get our Access 3 patented security and high security cylinder options. We can do our pyramid security and high security. For existing systems, we have our M-Heart security and high security cylinder options. So all of those can be added. Quick codes for keying. Again, they have a C code normally. C6 is a large format interchangeable core cylinder, 6-pin. The 7 would be for 7 for all these. If you want us to supply a temporary core that's keyed, that is a CT6. A CT6D is for a disposable plastic core that will be changed out with a large format interchangeable core permanent core. Our CL6 or 7 is the housing less core. MR is an option for our master ring cylinder, which we'll talk about when we get into keying. FX6 or 7 is for our flexible head cylinder. That's a unique feature that is used with our sectional locks that does not have a trim ring. It allows for some variations in the thickness of the door, and it does not have a trim ring on it. Our PO option is a plug only to show. That is for a security situation on an escutcheon where you don't want the cylinder sticking through. Only the plug, the part where you put the key in, sticks through the face of the escutcheon. So let's put all that nomenclature together here. We start with our series and then our function number, our lever, design and construction, then our rose or escutcheon design, then our finish, then our hand, our options via quick code, then keying info if applicable. So here's our example, an ML 2055 LWA 630 RHR D214 M17 C6. Excuse me. Our ML2000 is our series. Our 55 is our classroom function. Our Lustra L lever. which is a rot for the W. The A is our rose. Our finish is 630. Our handing is right hand reverse. The options, D214. D is a door thickness. 214 is 2 1/4 inch thick. The M17 is for a rot box for behind the strike. And the C6 is an interchangeable core 6-pin cylinder supplied. Let's take a look at the first exercise here. We want an ML2000 classroom intruder mortise lock with a deadbolt, a right hand reverse, a Newport lever cast design, a stainless steel 2 1/4 inch cast rose with a double occupancy indicator. This is our old style. We haven't updated to the new style yet. We want spanner head screws. We want an ANSI rot box for behind the strike. That ANSI rot box would help us keep visually clean behind the strike in those frames that don't have a mortar box. We want an 1 3/8 straight lip strike. We want an Access 3 high security cylinder in brushed stainless steel finish. It's a lot of stuff, so let's break it down part by part. The series, ML2000. Our function is a 72 function. Our lever design is an N, S for cast. Our rose or escutcheon, because we're asking for a cast 2 1/4 inch rose. That is a B rose. The MO2 is our screws for our Torx screws. We want a rot box. That is an M17 option. Our indicator, because it's an old style indicator, which we still sell, is an M19, S as in Sam, N as in Nancy. Our strike, straight strike, SS 138, tells us it's an 1 3/8 straight lip strike. Our cylinder is an AHS option. That gets us an Access 3 high security cylinder. Our finish is 630. And our handing is right hand reverse. So let's add all these part numbers together. ML 2072, NSB 630, right hand reverse with MO2, M17, M19, SN, SS 138, AHS. So sometimes we get asked, does it matter the order of the options? It does not. I just did it because it looks better numerically, but they will take those options in any order that you give them. So now that we have our part number, let's go ahead and take a look in the price book. We're going to grab our price book. If you have a digital catalog library, you can jump to that and thumb to the mortise lock sections. And they are broken down based on the lever styles. We are on page 111. That's where we find our pricing for our NSA trim. Mind you, it's an NSB lock. There's a reason for that. We're going to go ahead and take a look here at our lever design, our NSA lever, our B rose, it says C note 1. So we come across and we look for our note 1, and it's specific to our lever design. We find our 2072, and we come across to the column that meets our NS design. In that finish would be $1,176. Plus we need the add for our B rose. And in note 1, it tells us there's a $38 add per lock set to go from an A rose to a B rose. So that would be $38. Now we have to add our options to it. We asked for the rot box, we asked for the special screws, we have the occupancy indicator, and we have the straight lip strike, as well as the keying. So there's a lot of options to add to that. Each price book section in the back of the price book section should have all the applicable options to the product. So I would jump back to page 139 and we start looking for our miscellaneous options. So we find our screws, $21 per lock set. We find our rot box, M17, no charge if ordered with the lock. If you come to Corbin Russwin later and say, I need 20 M17 rot boxes, then they're going to charge you for them. If you order them with the lock, there's no charge. Now we're looking down that page for our occupancy indicator, our double indicator, our M19SN. That adds $254 per lock. So adding that to our parts here, we added our MO2, M17, M19SN, which added 21 plus 254. Now we need to add the strike as well as the keying. So let's go to the keying. Page 136 has the ad for the cylinder. Page 137 has the strike pricing. So let's take a look at our cylinder pricing first. Or I'm sorry, our strike pricing first. Our SS138, there is no charge for that if ordered with the lock set. Our Access 3 high security AHS option adds $86 per cylinder. So what does that do to our list price? Adding the SS138 plus AHS, I said they were $86 per cylinder. This is a double cylinder function, so that doubles that price to $172. So adding all those together, our list price for the lock set is now $1,661. Let's do one more, then we'll move on. We need a classroom function mortise lock in left-hand reverse, lustre lever design, rot lever with a rot rose, 2 1/4 inch door thickness, a 2-inch extended lip strike with an ANSI rot box, non-ferrous lock case, a 7-pin interchangeable core cylinder, Grandmaster keyed. We want visual key control on the cylinder itself only, brushed chrome finish. So if we're looking at our catalog, let's go ahead and take a look at the individual here. Our series, ML2000. Our function is a 55 function. Our lever is a LW for rot. Our rose is an A rose, which is our cast rose, or I'm sorry, it's a rot rose. I'll have to fix that. Our door thickness is a D214. Our strike is an SA200. Non-ferrous case is M26. Our cylinder is a C7. That's a 7-pin, large format interchangeable core complete cylinder. For our visual key control, we want stamping on the cylinder. That's VKC3. Our finish, because we asked for brush chrome, 626. Our handing, left-hand reverse. So putting all those part numbers together, ML2055 LWA, 626, left-hand reverse, D214, SA200, M26, C7, VKC3. The only thing I did not note on there is the Grandmaster keying. You would note that there at the end behind the VKC3, you would put your key set number. So our base lock pricing, let's go to the price book. We are on page 109. That is where we find our lustra and our Regent lever. The A roses are all the same prices based on the columns. We have a couple different escutcheons available as well. We see our new LWVN, which is our occupancy indicator type. That has its own column as well. So we come down and we find our lever here, our LWA, which would be in that first set of columns. We find our 2055. We come over across that row to our pricing for the 626, which is $837. We now need to add our options on top of that. So let's go ahead to the back of that section to find our upcharges for the options. We're on page 138. Now we'll find our door thickness option. For a 2 1/4 inch, there's no charge. It would be either an add or a deduct depending on what you're doing. Our strike option for the 2 inch is $17 per lock added. So we're adding $17 to that $837. Let's go find the rest of our options. Page 139 is where we'll find the miscellaneous code options. Page 136 is where we'll find the cylinder options, and page 137 is where we find the stamping and the keying prices. So let's take a look at the first thing. Our IC 7-pin is $82 per cylinder. Our non-ferrous lock case M26 option is $272 per cylinder. Our master key charges for interchangeable core is no charge. When you added the C7 option, there was an asterisk that would have told you that that includes your master keying charges. So there's no charge for master keying interchangeable cores from Corbin Russwin if you're ordering them with the lock. The visual key control information, the VKC3, is $8 list. So we're adding all those together. Our price went from $837 for the base lock to $1,216. Do we have any questions? All right, let's end up this morning on our shipping programs and the ease of doing business with ASSA ABLOY. Things and tools that we have that make it easy for you to do business with us. Corbin Russwin updates their lead time sheets about every 4 to 6 weeks. You can find it on the website on our extranet as well. And this one is April 2020, and it breaks it down by product line. So cylindrical locks are CL31, 33, 35, 37, and 38 are 2 to 3 weeks. Our door closers run 2 to 3 weeks for our DC 3000 and 6000. Our exit devices are running 2 to 3 weeks for our push bars. Our crossbar exit devices take a little bit longer. Our mortise locks are running 2 to 3 weeks. So the majority of the vanilla product is available 2 to 3 week lead time. Any special levers, any special designs, any special finishes, we'll push that out. And we pride ourselves on the availability of getting that designer product out quickly. At the very bottom of our lead sheet here, we show our Museo. All designer levers are 3 to 4 weeks. To me, that's impressive. So this is updated regularly from the factory, and the majority of the product can ship out, 2 to 3 weeks, 3 to 4 weeks. Anything special powder coating, any special finishes might push that out. So know that that could affect it. But we also have ways to get material to the job site faster than our standard. Corbin Russwin's Quick Ship. We have a 24-hour shipping. We have a 1-week shipping. We have a 2-week shipping. And these are all based on select product configurations. Not every product that we manufacture can be done on this Quick Ship. We have a Quick Ship book that will list out for our 24-hour shipping, these are the products. For our 1-week shipping, these are the products. For our 2-week shipping, these are the products. And it does have some effect on the pricing. When you look in the 24-hour shipping, that comes at your standard buying program minus 10 points. Our 1-week shipping is our standard buying program discount or a quoted discount minus 5 points. Our 2-week shipping is your standard buying program discount or your complete quote. It is limited, though, to $50,000 max net orders. So we do have some limitations. If you're going to order 1,000 lock sets, you probably aren't going to be able to do that on any of these quick ship programs. But if you need 50 or the first phase of a job, 100, however that works, you can do those on those shipping programs. And again, if you have any questions, reach out to your DSS reps. So let's talk about the tools that we have, the available tools for our customers in order to interact with us much easier. Our extranet. Our extranet has all the information that a distributor should need to interact with us. You can do online order entry. You can view all of our brands from that one portal. You can look up the status of orders. You can ask for expedites. You can manage your account if you're in the AP department. You can check invoices, things like that, check for return goods authorizations, things like that. The idea is to allow you to go onto that one clearinghouse and get information without having to contact customer service and wait in queue on a phone, or contact your rep and then wait for your rep then to have to get that information and reply back to you. So it's all for convenience. As a DSS rep, I use this quite a bit. I will show you our customer relationship portal that we use. The customers can use it as well. We'll talk about that in a minute. And I would use that every time before I went in to see a customer to kind of gauge the activity, what I was going to be walking into, what issues are they having. Okay, the first thing through our extranet is we have online order entry. There are online portals for our standard shipping, for our quick ship product, as well as flash ship. While Corbin Russwin doesn't have product on flash ship, there are other sister brands that are on flash ship that you can use. And each one would have their own unique order entry portal. And these are available to all of our DSS customers. Excuse me. Contact your local rep if you want the availability to use the online order entry portal. This, our CRC dash, we call it today. It's also going to, in the future, be called our Connect portal. This allows a customer to manage their account online. You can go online, check your order status. You can track a shipment. You can expedite an order on here. You can request RGAs. From here, you can get collateral materials, catalog information, price book information. If you're allowed to, if you are part of your accounting department or upper management, you might want to see what what you owe us. We have that availability as well. So from this spot here, the very top shows us our open orders. This happens to be for our Academy account from a couple months back. So we had one order in-house. Going across, it tells us the factory order number. You can click on that and it will give you the acknowledgement. It'll tell you the date it was ordered, when it is scheduled, and the status of the order. If it was on hold for question, it would say on hold. It's acknowledged. That means that it is in production. At the very far right, there's a little node there for activity. If you click on that, you could ask for that order to be expedited if you wanted it out faster. If you go below, you see the shipped orders. Again, you can click on it by your purchase order information, our order number, the invoice number. If you want to see a copy of the invoice, it'll tell you when it shipped, the status, if it was shipped partial or shipped complete, and then the activity node over here, you can click on that and get the tracking information from the freight company or from UPS or FedEx, however you told us to ship it. You can track it right from this portal. So rather than calling customer service or calling your rep, I was always happy to take a call from my customers, but if I'm driving down the road, I'm writing a note while I'm driving, hopefully with a Bluetooth headset on, and then I would have to pull over, relay that information, get that information back from customer service if I didn't get them online, and have to call back the customer and engage with them. This gives you the availability to do that right from this website. If you have an order that was shipped here and the job was canceled, something happened, the contractor wants to return materials that they didn't use, you can go for that activity as well and say request an RGA. And that would start the process, and it would go right into approval, and you would get an answer back telling you that you can or cannot return the material, and if you can, what the restock fee would be. So all that information is laid out right there, clean and even for you. So it's right there at your fingertips. So above and beyond our website, we have something even better than that. For Assa Abloy, we have our customer support app. Our customer support app gives you the portal to our Connect system right from the app. But if you're also out on a job site doing troubleshooting and you need to speak with one of our tech reps, you can gain information right here from this site. You can talk to either customer service or you can talk to tech support. And from this, it breaks it down by brand. And when you enter into the app, you decide whether you want to speak to customer service or to the tech, and then it'll bring up all the brands. You can then look and select the brand, and it will tell you the hours of operation in your time zone. So if you're in California and you want to speak to a tech rep, it'll tell you what hours that they are in your time zone. So when you connect with that rep, you can make a voice call, which is just like a phone call where you get into queue. You can send an email, which is just like sending an email, but there's a chat feature, which is a real-time chat. Our tech services reps are right there. There's always somebody manning the chat, and you can get instant feedback, instant information. One of the other cool things is you can also video the problem that you're having. And you can draw on the video, and they can draw on the video, kind of like John Madden NFL, and show you exactly what might be the problem, what you might want to correct. You also have access to the catalog and the templates from the app as well. So this is a great product, and I recommend it. It's free. It's on the App Store for Apple people, and it's on Google Play as well. So let's go ahead and take a little look at a video.
Connecting with Assa Abloy customer service and technical support has never been easier. With the customer support app from Assa Abloy, you can email, voice call, or chat with a customer service or technical support representative right from your phone or tablet. No more listening to endless phone menus to find a department you need. With the customer support app, you get connected to the customer service or technical support department instantly. Having technical difficulties? Use the streaming video Show Me feature to show your technical support representative in real time any issues you have, all from your phone or tablet camera. Draw directly on the screen to point out exactly where you're having issues and get the help you need fast. Want to check order history or status of an order? Log on to Assa Abloy Connect directly from the customer support app to get access to all your order information on one easy interface. With the customer support app from Assa Abloy, you can have the support you need when you need it. Download the customer support app from the Apple Store or Google Play today.
The next thing that I want to talk about is our digital catalog library. This is a clearinghouse of all of our catalog information. It is all housed online. It is kept up to date. If you have a printed catalog, your printed catalog is probably obsolete the day you receive it. Any changes that we make, any updates, any enhancements to that catalog, we would send out a new page to you, have it printed out. And hopefully the distributor received it and put it into the catalog. Well, now we can do those PDFs in real time on our online portal. It is green, it saves paper waste. It frankly saves us from printing catalogs and updated printed catalogs that are, again, obsolete the day they're printed. And if we have 200 catalogs that we printed out for Corbin Russwin, we ship them out and we find a mistake, they're going to print out, update sections that need to be put into those catalogs. And if we still have those 200 there, we're not going to make new catalogs until those 200 are depleted, or the most of them are depleted. So having this digital catalog library makes it easy to have the most update possible. In my day, when I became a rep, I wanted copies of every manufacturer's catalog. I had a 4-foot wide by 6-foot high shelf that sat behind my desk that I had every manufacturer's catalog in. And I would use that if I was trying to do conversions, if I was writing a specification. And it turns out that a lot of those catalogs became very obsolete. So I would look in that catalog, and then I would go online to try to find that information again, just to make sure that it was correct. So having to go to the manufacturer and look at their PDF, which was their most current, means I didn't need to have this big shelf with all that obsolete information on. So I was able to recycle all those old binders and move that shelf into another room and create space, as well as make sure that I had the most up-to-date information. So when you're searching our digital library, you can filter by product category, you can search for specific terms, you can actually bookmark notes on the pages themselves, which will stay until you clear your cache. From there, you can email the full catalog or individual pages. And I'm going to show you, I took a video of myself navigating our digital library. And I'll walk through it with you as we go through. So I'm at our extranet. I go to our catalog. This one happens to be a Sargent. Click on catalogs. It brings me to the digital catalog library. This is real time, so I didn't slow anything down. I'm bringing it down to catalogs, and I pick a closer. You can navigate through the pages, look what you want. You click on it, you can expand the page of the catalog to make it easy to read. You navigate through till you find the information that you want. I'm going to export a PDF or print it. You can crop images as well if you're doing submittals and you only want pieces and parts of the catalog. But here I am making a PDF of just those 2 pages. It's going to go out and build me a PowerPoint. Not a PowerPoint, a PDF. And here's my product catalog. I have a cover sheet and the 2 pages that I wanted. So again, this is a PDF document. I can save it from here. I can print it from here. I can do some other fun things with it if I have Adobe. But let's go ahead and jump back to the catalog. Here's my bookmarks. I save that page. I can make notes on it. I click on the notes. I can email it from here, or I can trash it from here if I choose to. Now we're looking at the layout. I can do single pages. I can do single pages with the thumbnails at the bottom to make it easy to walk through. I personally like the double page as if you're flipping a page of a book. So I want to share from this portal as well. I don't have to create a PDF. I can do it from here. So I'm going to send this current page spread via email. So I'm going to send this to my architect friend. Again, I'm not the fastest typist in the world, so you have to bear with me. Include a message, and it shows you the link at the very bottom. You'd think that I would have recorded this over and over again until I got it right, huh? So I could send the email from there. And the other beauty of this is now I've looked at that information, I forwarded it on, and we have a bookshelf that has all Sargent catalogs. We also can go to our other brands from here. So now I want to look at Norton. I want to see if Norton has a feature similar to the feature that we had on that other closer. So I come across, I can look at the catalogs for all the different products. I bring it up, I can navigate through it just like the others. Look and make sure that it is what I need. Make my bookmark here, put the notes onto it, add that current page. From here, we also have videos of products. Anything that is housed on our YouTube channels is available from here. So I come down through by brand. I'm coming down to find that door closer to see if there's a video that's applicable to what I need. There it is. It takes me out to the YouTube channel, and I can watch that video from here. I can share the link to someone as well. The only thing we can't do is download those actual videos. So very feature rich. There's a lot of information there. And these are always kept constantly up to date. So I don't see personally a reason why you would want to use a printed catalog, but that's just me. And if an old dog like me can learn it, the next generation, I'm sure, will have no problem with it. Another unique product that we have available from our extranet or secure site, convert to asaabloy.com. We can quickly cross-reference competitors' products to our ASSA ABLOY brands. And again, it's based on specific part numbers, ANSI numbers, or competitors' names. And we have multiple brands in here. This one is designed for Corbin Russwin and Sargent. We also have a site for Yale. It's converttoyale.com. And you go in, you add the competitor brand, you put some information in there, and it'll pop up the ASSA ABLOY equivalent. And it'll allow you then to export that in a comma-separated value. How about I show you instead of talking about it? Here's a video of me using it. Going to a competitor vendor here. This particular one, I happen to pick Schlag lock. I'm going to type in some part number here, ND10, which is their passage set for their ND series, and match. It gave me a Corbin Russwin and a Sargent equivalent. If I click the plus, it creates a list below for me of all the products I'm converting. Now I'm going to go to another brand. This one happens to be an exit device. I type in the information, and I'll find a product for Sargent, and I'll find a product for Corbin Russwin. Now I'm going to go find a door closer. And this is where I hit a little bit of a hiccup, because while it's very intuitive, it can't guess for you. So I'm going to type in a 4000 series. Doesn't find anything. All right, how about amount? 4041. Doesn't find it. How about a 4040? Okay, the 4040 allowed me to find a Sargent and a Corbin Russwin. So I click on it, creating my list below. I can't remember if I clicked on it or not, so I go back and I click again. It says it's already part of that list. So I have to escape out of that. Now I thumb down further. There it was. Here's my Corbin Russwin equivalent. Click on that. And now it asks me if I want to download it as a comma-separated value file. I click that and give it a second here. It will pop up. Do I want to allow website to run content? Yes. So here's my Excel spreadsheet opening up, and it gave me the ASSA ABLOY names, the part number descriptions, our competitor vendor names, our competitor model numbers, the ANSI numbers, and a short description. So again, if you're converting between brands, this makes it very easy. And while this is in its infancy, we are adding more features, more pieces, more parts to make this much better than those old printed versions that used to be used. Okay. Another tool that we have available for installers specifically and troubleshooting is the Built app. Now, this is not an ASSA ABLOY product. This is a third-party vendor. Built is a product that is designed for the consumer. Designed for the consumer to use if they need a little help installing something. We saw a commercial need for this. So this will give an installer of our products step-by-step 3D interactive instructions with the ability to zoom in, zoom out, rotate images. You'll see a lot of our access control products on here, but we're going to start backfilling with some of our other commercial products. Anything that's new, anything that we make enhancements to, we build these 3D files to make the Built app operate. So we're going to show you an ASA Abloy solution through Build Here. One of the coolest things about Built, especially if you're on a job site troubleshooting, is if you're standing on the ground looking up and you're looking at a flat instruction sheet, you may not have the same view there. But if you have the Built app, you can rotate and have it to where you're looking at. If there are wires plugged into a wiring harness, you can actually look at that in the same view, and makes it so much easier to troubleshoot, so much easier to install. And again, that's not our app, but it is available on iTunes as well as Google Play. The last tool I'm going to show you is our access control configurator. This is designed for those systems integrators. Systems integrators do not necessarily know hardware. They rely on the distributor to get it right, to assume that the distributor understands what they need, what configuration, how it's supposed to work. Well, it doesn't always work out terribly well, because the distributor has to assume that the integrator knows what they're talking about. They don't know the difference between a mortise lock and a cylindrical lock. Distributors do. So this is a step-by-step, takes the guesswork out of choosing. And it's drop-down menus, and it walks through. It asks, what access control system are you using? What type of credential? Then they talk about platform. And it'll ask questions going through. It'll show pictures for the finishes, show pictures for the levers. And as they answer the questions, when they get to the end, it gives a complete part number that then they could give to the distributor to order the lock for them. So it will come proper. So it takes that guesswork out. It takes that problem of a distributor giving them the wrong thing because they didn't tell them what they needed properly. So it's another great tool that's available on our intelligentopenings.com site. If you're an authorized channel partner for access control, you'll have access to Intelligent Openings. You need to sign up for an account for that. If you're an integrator, you would go to that site as well for the templates and for all that information. Any questions on the tools? We're going to finish off with a couple hints on how to avoid order delays. Then we'll break for an hour for lunch. Okay, how to avoid order delays. Orders must be complete and correct. We cannot assume what you were thinking when you placed the order. We strive to acknowledge everything within 24 hours. So if you give us a full part number stream with all the identified fields, all the information that we need, it can go right in and be entered. We also, the quick ship orders, the turbo orders are all entered the same day. We do have software. If you're using ProTech or ComSense, we can do electronic data interchange. We also have some interactive spreadsheet type keying lead sheet order forms that you can use as well, which will help you get the right information to us. So let's talk about why an order gets delayed, our top reasons. The most common is keying details missing. You can't send an order in and say, I'll send the keying information later. the order will be put on hold. If it's a keyed factory order, send all that information in with the order. Handing is the next most common. While some of our products are field changeable, we do require mortise locks to be handed, exit devices to be handed. Miscellaneous would be fasteners missing, or something that is incompatible. If you order through bolts for a cylindrical lock, M54, they don't work with that. If you order latch retraction for a mortise lock, doesn't quite work that way. There are specific part numbers that are specific to the series. So that's our miscellaneous. Door height and width missing. If you're using vertical rods, both surface and concealed, you should probably specify the height of your opening. And finish is the 5th most common. Believe it or not, we can't assume the finish that you want. There are several problems that come up with that. If we guessed that you wanted polished brass and you really wanted bronze, then we got a problem. So what happens when we get these delayed? We have a process. It's called a delayed order notification. Okay, a delayed order is something that's missing or has incompatible information, things that we cannot process the order. So what happens is we'll send out a delayed order notification to the customer, to the buyer whose name is on the order. If your company uses a purchasing agent, that's where it's going to go. And the notification will have all the information that is missing or incompatible. We need you to follow up with an answer to us. We will send up a notification every 2 days that you still have this order on hold. After the 5th day, we will notify the customer that that line item on the order will be canceled. We'll enter everything else that's able to be entered, but that line item will be canceled from the order and you'll have to reorder it, which is kind of a pain. This is what our DON, or delayed order notification, looks like. At the very top, it tells us how many days we've had it, how many follow-up attempts, days on hold, how many days are remaining, the day we received it, and the day we start. 2, the name of the person that ordered it, customer is your distributor name, PO number, your PO number, our order number, and it'll tell you your order is on hold pending the information below. Standard lead time will not apply until all questions are answered. So everything gets held for those 5 days. After 5 days, that material that we don't have answers on gets taken off the order. So here's the problem. Page 1, line item 1. That item requires handing with that specific lever. Answer, right hand, door handing. That's all we need, is something that simple. It can be typed right on it and sent back to us, emailed right back to us. And we want to make sure that we get those ordered right away so we can maintain that 2 to 3 week lead time on the majority of the product. How can you help us? Understand what information is required for specific products. Make sure that you have it on the order. If there's any question, use the how to order section in the catalog. In the back of the Corbin Russwin catalog, each section, there is a suggested how to order. And if you follow that, you should be able to get us the information we need. If it's a keyed order, there's a keyed order checklist, a bunch of things that we need to know. We'll talk a little bit more about keying this afternoon. Exit devices. We need to know the handing. We are not going to guess. Even though the rim devices and our levers are field handable, but we want a handing from the factory. They're either going to be left hand reverse or right hand, because an exit device is only used on an outswing door. Vertical rods, we need a door height. If you want a special door width, we offer our standard exit devices in a 24-inch rail, a 36-inch rail, and a 48-inch rail. And the 48 can be cut down, the 36 can be cut down, the 24 cannot be cut down. We do not size them in the factory. If you wanted an exit device that was 33.5 inches wide, we can't do that at Corbin Russwin. They may be able to do a special product application request at a charge, but that's going to hold up the order. So if it's a special door width or special door height, tell us. The mortise locks, we like to know the handing for them, even though they're field reversible. If you don't tell us, you're going to get a fixed core cylinder. It's going to be keyed random in a L4 keyway, unless you tell us different than that. If you don't tell us, that's what you're going to get. Door closers. Some of the specialty arms are handed. Door closers only come in right hand and left hand. They're handed from the push side. So if it's an outswing door and you're using a handed arm with that, it's going to be a right hand for a left hand reverse door and a left hand for a right hand reverse door. Voltage. If it's an electrified product, you need to specify the voltage. Even though our exit device trims and our mortise lock electrified devices use the EcoFlex technology, our cylindrical locks do not. You have to specify 12 or 24. So as common practice, make sure you specify it for both. The one thing that we will assume is our BHMA finishes are brushed chrome and our brushed stainless. Because they're compatible finishes, if you order a cylindrical lock in brushed stainless, we're going to give you the brushed chrome because we don't make it in brushed stainless, and vice versa. The door schedule. If you want us to put door numbers on the tags, on the lock tags, we can do that, but you're limited to 7 characters. Keyed orders. What do we need to know? There's a separate order required for each registry number. If you're doing multiple schools within a district and they have their own registry number for each school, you have to order each school separate. We need to know whether it's a new key system or an existing key system, the system type, the keyway that you want. If there are any approval documents for security or restricted or patented product, that needs to be submitted with the order. Shipping instructions. You have to tell us where to send the locks, where to send the keys. There are specifics when you get into security and high security where the owner will receive the cut keys unless they allow the distributor to receive them. Identify if it's a field-based system. We need to know how big it is. Is it a master, a grandmaster? The cylinder functions. How do you want them stamped? Cross-keying information, which we'll talk about when we get to keying later. Shipping instructions for the locks and the keys like we talked about, whether you want a bidding list or not. Shipping instructions, contact information for questions on the order. Now is perfect time to ask any questions if you have them. Otherwise, we are going to go ahead and break now for an hour. I will start back as soon as the timer ends. Session today. Welcome back. To part 2 of day 1. We're going to talk about Corbin Russwin's cylindrical locks, cylinders, and cores, and we're going to finish off the day with how to order key systems. Again, it's probably a good idea to do a quick review on our nomenclature. All of our cylindrical locks start with the 2-letter designation, CL for cylindrical lever, CK for cylindrical knob, UT for unit lock. The unit lock is not a true cylindrical lock. We don't necessarily count it there. There is one other series that we have, the TL, which is the tubular lever. That is the Museo type levers that are meant to integrate into our Good Design Studio products. We don't share them in this session, but I wanted you to know that they exist. And the function numbers are the same through all the part numbers series, regardless of whether it's a mortise lock or a cylindrical lock. And the options are added via quick code suffix at the end, not as a prefix. Let's go ahead and look deeper into that nomenclature. We show you two examples. We start with the series, then function, and then the trim, and the options are at the end. We have a CL3357 NZD 626 MO2. So the CL, cylindrical lever, 33 is the 3300 series, grade 1 cylindrical lock. 57 is the storeroom function. NZD is the Newport lever with the D rose. With most of our cylindrical locks, we only offer one rose, which is the D rose. 626 is a brush chrome finish. MO2 is an option for torque screws. The next example is a CL3851 AZD 605 C6. The CL38 tells us it's a cylindrical lever, 3800 series, grade 2. The 51 is an entrance function. The AZD is the Armstrong lever with the D rose. 605 is a polished brass finish. C6 is an option for the cylinder, which is a 6-pin large format interchangeable core. Common functions. Let's go ahead and take a look. The 10 is passage, just like it was with the mortise lock. The 20 is privacy. The 51 is entry. The 57 is storeroom. The 55 is classroom. The 52 is classroom security intruder. Again, this follows that nomenclature. The 0 at the end tells us no cylinders. The 1, the 7, the 5 tells us it's one cylinder. The 2 at the end tells us it's 2 cylinders. Let's continue on. We're going to start at the top of our product numbers, or our product series, I should say. The CL3100 series is our vandal-resistant grade 1 tubular lock. This is the lock that we use in situations where other cylindrical locks have failed. If someone else's cylindrical locks are not holding up in an abusive environment, we would recommend this lock. And we're going to talk about the construction of the lock. What I'm showing you is, on the right is the picture of our CL3100 series. The picture at the bottom with the blue arrow is showing you everyone else's cylindrical lock chassis. How a normal cylindrical lock operates is you slide the latch bolt into the edge of the door, then you slide the chassis of the lock into, and where I'm pointing to, there is a wing on the top and a wing on the bottom. That is the only thing that holds that latch bolt to a typical cylindrical lock. So with having a lever on the lock instead of a knob, you can put excessive amounts of torque on that. And you can put enough torque on those little wings that you could bend them, possibly, or break them out of position. And if that lock chassis is able to spin freely inside of the door, it could pull the retractor back and you could have unwanted access to your facility. So the design of the 3100 series, which we call it a torque zone or a T-zone type lock, is different. We're showing you there our what we call our bearing assembly or our chassis for our lock and our latch bolt. It's the exact opposite of the typical cylindrical lock. The bearing assembly or the chassis goes into the door first. The latch bolt comes through completely and is pinned into place. So you do not have the little wings, the weak point. That weak point is everyone's typical cylindrical lock design, and that is also the reason why everyone's cylindrical levers require through bolts. By adding the through bolts into the lock, it actually holds that chassis in position on the door. But the weakest point is still where that little blue arrow is showing you, that top and that bottom wing. Well, with ours, the way it comes together, it creates a T, or a T-zone, which we call our torque zone. You are required to bypass 700 inch-pounds on a locked lever to be certified grade 1. This one's been tested at least twice and almost 3 times the amount. It's almost to 3,000 inch-pounds of torque on a locked lever. It's been tested beyond 15 million cycles. To be ANSI certified grade 1, you have to go 1 million cycles. So this one's been tested 15 times ANSI BHMA grade 1 standards. The lever is rigid when locked. Now we're going to talk about the rest of Corbin Russwin's cylindrical levers. Some of them are rigid when locked. Some of them are freewheeling when locked. The freewheeling is our vandal resistance. This lock, I mentioned, a typical cylindrical lock requires through bolts. The design of the 3100 series, because it has that torque construction, it does not require through bolts. However, we can give you a rose to match the other locks on the job. We can also do a very small rose if you're replacing a knob, an older knob with a 3100 series lever. You can use a small rose. If you're replacing, the doors, putting new doors on, you don't have to have that additional top and bottom through bolt hole like you do with a normal government 161. We offer this lock with 3 standard lever designs. You're going to find that all of our cylindrical lock offerings, save for the 3300 and the TL series, use the same 3 lever designs. The CL3300 adds a 4th. But with this lock, we can do 4 different roses. With all the other cylindrical locks, we only offer 1. Architectural finishes, 18 standard functions. Keying options, we'll talk about that in a little bit, but basically any of our standard security and high security cylinder options are available for this. We give a 10-year warranty on this lock. It's designed for 1 3/4 inch thick door, can go up to 2 1/4 inch thick. The back set, where we're talking about the center line of the lock set to the center line of the door prep on the edge of the door. That back set from there back would be 2 3/4 inch. We cannot go shallower, but we can go wider to up to a 5-inch. So where does this lock fit against the competition? It's simple. Nobody else has one. If this is something that is required or wanted by an owner or an architect, it would be specified as a Corbin Russwin or an Assa Abloy no sub. Sargent does offer the 11 line, which Corbin Russwin basically stole the design from them. They're a sister company. We stole with pride. But the 11 line and the 3100 series would occupy that spec. And Schlage doesn't make anything like it. Best doesn't make anything like it. They make good cylindrical locks, but it's not this lock. Let's talk about the levers and roses for this. That's showing you our standard 3 levers, the A, the N, and the P. The N is the most common. We have the 4 different roses available. The D rose is our standard large rose that matches all of the other cylindrical lock offerings. We have 2 different 2 3/4 excuse me, 2 3/4 diameter roses, a flat one and a raised one. And we also offer this with a square rose to match some existing look. So you have the D, C, E, and K roses available. All of the levers are die-cast zinc plated. The roses are all wrought brass. And the part number stream would start out CL31, then the function, then the lever. If it's a Newport lever with a D rose, it would be NZD, those 3 numbers. Let's go ahead and jump from this product to the CL3300, which we call our extra heavy duty grade 1 cylindrical lock. Again, this has been tested beyond 2 million cycles. This one is built like the first picture that I showed you with the blue arrow, where the chassis slides into the latch bolt. It requires through bolts. There are manufacturers out there that have optional through bolts. Well, for security, I would never use an optional through bolt. There's no such thing as an option for that, in my opinion. So this lock has individual spring cassettes on each side, which is why we have that large D rose behind it. It is freewheeling when locked. We call it our patented lever release. We offer 4 lever designs with that 1 rose. Architectural finishes, 24 mechanical functions, 2 electrified functions. The keying requirements, again, we can do conventional interchangeable core. We can prep for small format interchangeable core. We can do security, high security, patented keyways as well. This lock has a 7-year warranty. Designed for an 1 3/4 thick door, can go thicker, but not shallower. We can do a 2 3/4 back set up to a 5-inch back set. Now, the reason I'm mentioning that is because sometimes in the light commercial and in the negotiated type work, the contractor might go to an 1 3/8 door or a residential pre-hung style door. Well, if you're going to put an extra heavy-duty certified grade 1 product on a residential door, then it's way overkill. We have better products for that. But we'll get into each one. This is our certified grade 1. Where does this fit in the marketplace? We would happily put this in a specification versus the Schlage ND and the Best 9K. Those locks are available with their freewheeling or vandal guard function as well. And Sargent has their 10 line. They would all happily occupy that same spec point. If you wanted the freewheeling with Sargent, you'd have to do an FW prefix. This lock is not available rigid. That is the only difference between this and the other products. There is something in place. They're talking about making a rigid option for this lock, but currently it doesn't exist. So that's our CL3300. Here are our 4 lever designs. We have the Armstrong, the Newport, and the Princeton, just like the 3100 series. The addition here is the Frascati, the FZD. That Frascati is a handed lever, which makes your cylindrical lock now handed. And it gives you the availability to go a little bit designer with a cylindrical lock. 4 lever designs, 1 rose. You start, first digit is A, N, P, or F, and then Z for cast zinc, D for the rose. The roses are all wrought brass, and the levers are all cast zinc, just like every other manufacturer. Moving to our heavy duty grade 1, our CL3500 series. This is also a 7-year warranty. We only have 11 functions available, 3 lever designs, a little bit less finishes. The lever's rigid when locked. It still has the spring cassettes on both sides, but it's not freewheeling. So again, this one will work in that same grade 1 market, but it is designed to allow you to use it on an 1 3/8 thick door or a 2 3/8 back set. So if you have a wide glass kit on that door and you need to move the center line of the latch over from 2 3/4, you can go to 2 3/8. This is a certified grade 1 product. This utilizes the same levers as the 31 and the 33. If you're using the D rose on the 31, the roses match. You could mix and match between our vandal resistant lock, our heavy duty, and our extra heavy duty cylindrical locks, and they would all match. The only way you could tell the difference is by looking at the latch bolt themselves when the door is open. So this is a design continuity. It was a decision that Corbin Russwin made so that you can mix and match product on the job. Being that this is a heavy duty versus our extra heavy duty, it's certified grade 1, but it gives you the availability to VE a job and not take the grade from a grade 1 to a grade 2. So know that you have the availability of a grade 1 product that is a little bit more budget conscious. Same 7-year warranty as a CL3300, rigid when locked. You can go down to a 2 3/8 back set up to a 5-inch. 1 3/4 door thickness or thicker, down to 1 3/8. This brings us to our grade 2 offerings. Our grade 2 offerings are CL3800 series, freewheeling when locked, the same 3-lever designs, the same D rows. Again, design continuity, mix and match. This one also has 7-year warranty. You can go to a 2 3/8 back set. You can go to an 1 3/8 door thickness. Design continuity between all the products. 7-year warranty. So 7-year warranty on the 38, 7-year warranty on the 35, 7-year warranty on the 33, 10-year warranty on the 31. So you can mix and match based on application, based on usage. If you have closet doors that aren't being used all that often, you could go to a grade 2 and it would match the same look. This gives you that availability, again, to pick and choose, to mix and match. Here are the 3-lever designs available. Again, the same Armstrong, Newport, Princeton. The 3300 series has one additional. Bear in mind that when we get into functions such as our storeroom function, which you enter a key and the key retracts the latch bolt on the 33, on the 38, it's going to be freewheeling lever. So distributors, you might get a phone call from a contractor saying, I'm turning the lever and nothing's happening. We have to check that function. If you put the key in and the key bypasses it, it is a storeroom function, and it's designed to be that way. The 31 and the 35 are rigid, so that would be the first clue. So again, having that design continuity between all those products, you could mix and match based on the application, based on the usage of the door. We do still sell some knobs. I'm not going to spend a ton of time on it. Our CK goes from a CL to a CK. It's a cylindrical knob. Our 4300 series is our grade 1. Our 4400 series is our grade 2. And because of the ADA, the Americans with Disabilities Act, pretty much 90% plus of what we sell is cylindrical levers. But there are areas. Military does not have to meet ADA. When we sell outside of the United States, South America, some European countries, they don't have those requirements for levers. You know, some jurisdictions do require ADA. In Canada, they have the, I believe, CDA, which is their version, and they require the levers. But know that we have some knob offerings available. We're very limited to finishes and functions. We only have 3 finishes, 1 knob design, 7 functions for a grade 1. We have 10 grade 2 functions and 5 finishes, 1 knob design. Know that they exist. So if you see that in a specification, the CK will tell you it's a knob. CL tells you it's a lever. Now we're going to jump over to our unit lock. Again, this is not a cylindrical lock. This is not a mortise lock. This is something very, very much different. With a mortise lock, you cut a 8-inch high pocket into the door and the lock lives in there, and you put the cylinders and the levers on the each side of the door. With a cylindrical lock or a tubular lock, you have the latch bolt that is bored into the edge of the door, and the lock set, the chassis, is cut into the face of the door. With the unit lock, the prep of the door looks like this, where you have a little rectangle that's cut out of the edge of the door. You have a through bolt on the top, through bolt on the bottom. This is a one-piece pre-assembled lock set. It comes from the factory all together. You slide it in and you tighten up the screws and it's installed. It's very quick, very easy to install. The downside to it, there's only one lever design, the Essex. That's the only one that Corbin Russwin makes for it. 5 finishes, 6 functions. Corbin Russwin is the only one that manufactures a unit lock still to this day. Now, I know that there are other manufacturers. I know Best makes a latch bolt for their 9K that will retrofit a unit lock, but it's still a cylindrical lock. It's not the same as this. And I know Yale makes their mono lock, which is a grade 1 cylindrical lock with a specially built latch. The reason I'm harping on this, you can find unit locks that have been in the industry that have been used in a building for 50, 60 plus years, and they still work like they're brand new. The knob versions of these things will last forever. But they're also more expensive than a mortise lock. Depending, if you have a building, an older school or a public building that needs to come up to ADA requirements because of remodeling or additions, then depending on the type of door, it may be more cost effective if they're going at cylindrical locks with everything else to buy a new door and put a cylindrical lock on it versus the price of this lock. It is very expensive. But again, it is a no sub item. You're not going to see new specifications coming out with this unless you want to. I know we're not going to write it unless we're asked to. But for existing facilities, if we're expanding on something, again, Corbin Russwin's always been great about maintaining existing facilities with product. So while this is a high price point, there is no true equivalent to this lock. It's kind of a buy once, cry once proposition. So let's take a look at some of the options that are available through cylindrical locks. Again, some of it could change based on the series. Just like we had with our mortise locks, MO4 is for Torx screws. Here's a couple unique options. The MO6 will give you less cylinder, but we'll add a tail piece that will work with a Schlage cylinder if you're going to provide a Schlage cylinder to fit into that lock, a Schlage factory original. The MO8 is the option to accept a 6 or 7 pin small format interchangeable core. Again, Corbin Russwin does not manufacture small format. MO9 is a lever to accept a Sargent cylinder supplied by others. The face plug dimension of the Sargent cylinder is a little bit different than the rest of the industry, so it would be a special lever. M16 is for a 3/4 inch throw latch bolt for our CL3300. If you're doing a pair of A-labeled doors, you might need that 3/4 inch throw latch bolt. M17 is the rot box for behind the strike. M21 is a knurled outside lever. M69 is a lever to accept a Schlage large format interchangeable core, because everyone's large format cores are a different dimension than everyone else's. The small format are the only ones that have an industry standard. M92 is a request to exit switch that we can put in the CL3300 series. A special curve lip strike would be an SA code. An SC is for a small 2 3/4 inch high curve lipped box strike. We see that in wood frames or inactive leaves of pears or custom hollow metal. The majority of stock hollow metal would use the SA type strike, which is our standard curve lip 4 7/8 ANSI strike. But we can do extended lips, you just have to specify it. So this is what our strikes look like here. Our SA is our standard 4 7/8 inch tall strike. The SC is the optional 2 3/4 strike. And the M17 is that rot box option that goes in behind if your hollow metal frame does not have a mortar box. Architects hate to look in that little tiny hole and see the inside of the wall. Believe it or not, somebody does care about that kind of stuff. And if you're ordering it with the lock, we don't charge you for it. If you ask for them later, there will be a fee. So let's talk about our keying options. Our component cylinder is our 2000 series. That is what's going to be supplied standard. That is a fixed core, standard keyway, L4 unless you specify something else, keyed random. If you want it supplied less cylinder, prepared for a Corbin Russwin cylinder, that's LC. The C6 or 7 is a large format removable core cylinder. If you want the CL6, that is a prep for the large format core, less the core. The M08 is for a small format interchangeable core, housing only. You can place somebody else's small format core into it. If you have AP, AS, or AHS, that is our patented security and high security access 3 cylinders. PS, PHS is our pyramid security or pyramid high security protected keyway. You'll notice I said protected, not patented. We'll talk about that. Our HS is our MHART high security cylinder. That is something that we can do yet for existing owners. New systems would be put on conventional Access 3 or Pyramid. We will not build a new MHART system because it's been out for quite a long time and the majority of the combinations have already been used. So here's the quick codes. C6 is large format cylinder. CT6 is large format cylinder with a keyed temporary core. And we'll talk about the red, the blue, and the green, which are 3 different types of temporary cylinder. The CT6D is a disposable plastic core. The CL6 or 7 is that lever, less core, prepared for a large format interchangeable core. The AP, the AAS, the AHS can be done with a large format interchangeable core cylinder by adding the C in the middle. So ACP, ACS, ACHS. Pyramid, the same thing. For the large format interchangeable core, would go from PS to PCS or PCHS. The MHART goes from HS to CHS. And if you want them construction master keyed instead of using a temporary core, we can do that. That will give the contractor a key to use during construction, and then it will be voided out later. So those are the basic keying options. Let's take a look at the nomenclature again. They start with the series, then the function number, then the trim design, then the finish, then the handing, then the options, and then any keying. So what we're showing you here, CL 3355, 3300 series, 55 is classroom function, NZD, Newport lever, D rows, 626 brush chrome finish. It's always a good habit to specify the hand. You might need it for split finishes, or if we were doing the Frascati lever on this lock, we would need it for sure. The B option is a special back set. The SC is the small 2 3/4 strike with an extended lip. The MO4 is for the fasteners. The C6 is interchangeable core 6-pin. The VKC3 is visual key control. That's stamping on the cylinder itself. So again, looking at those part numbers, the only thing that will change between the series is that if you go to a vandal resistant lock, that would be a CL3151. If you go to a standard grade 1, it would be a CL3551. A grade 2, CL3851. So again, once you know that basic information, it's very, very easy to complete the part number streams. Let's go ahead and take a look. If you're following along with your catalog, let's go ahead and build some. We want a CL3300 series classroom intruder lock, right hand, Princeton lever, with a pyramid interchangeable core security key system. 3 3/4 back set, an ANSI 2-inch extended lip strike, 2 1/8-inch thick door, torque screws, satin chrome finish. If you're walking along with this, our series CL3300 function is 52. Lever is a P. D rows, PZD is your trim. They don't do 2 1/8-inch. They do up to 2 1/4, so it'll be a D214, which will still work with 2 1/8. The back set is a B334. Torque screws is MO4. The strike an SA200. ANSI 2-inch lip strike. The cylinder is PCS. That's a pyramid security interchangeable core. The finish is 626, and the handing is right hand. Our part number looks something like that. CL3352, PZD 626, right hand. D214, B334, MO4, SA200, PCS. So we're going to jump into the price book now that we have our part number. and go ahead and price this up. We can find the lever, the lustre lever. I'm sorry, not the lustre lever. It is a P, our Princeton lever. All of our 4 levers are on the same price book section. There are 2 separate finish columns. One is for 613E, 626, black suede powder coat, white suede powder coat. The far right-hand column is for 605, 606, 611, 612, 613, 613L, 618, 619, 625, and 722. So let's take a look at our double cylinder function, our CL3352. We come across to our 626 finish, list price $782. Now we have to look at the back of that 3300 series section for our options. Let's go ahead and jump there. Page 166 is where you'll find the ads for the door thickness, no charge. For the back set, the B334 adds $15 to the list price of the lock. Let's go ahead and take a look at the fasteners, the strike, and the keying options. We're on page 164 for the ad for the cylinder, 166 for the extended lip strike, and 167 for all the M codes. I have just cut out the snippets, the pieces of these sections to make it easier. So let's take a look at our strike first. Our SA200 adds $17. Our Torx head screws MO4 adds $26. Our pyramid security interchangeable core adds $140 per cylinder. So we add all that information up. We had a double keyed function that doubles at 140 to 280. Our list price for that lock is $1,120. Let's keep going. Our CL3100 series. We need a storeroom function, left hand, Newport lever with a K rose. Access 3 security key system, 2 3/4 back set, 4 7/8 strike. We want it master keyed, and we want a dark oxidized bronze equivalent finish. Look at our part numbers. CL3157 NZK. The Access 3 security keying is AS. That gets you the Access 3 security fixed core. 2 3/4 standard back set. If it's default, you do not have to specify it. It comes with the lock. Same with our strike. Our finish is a 613E, which is our dark bronze equivalent. Left hand, MK for master keying. There's our part number stream, CL3157 NZK 613E. Left hand, AS. And then we have to remember the master keying. We would put our key set symbol in there. And we'll talk about that when we do keying in a bit. Excuse me. Page 157 is our pricing for the 3100 series. Note that all of the levers and all of the roses are the same list pricing. So we come down to our single keyed function, CL3157, come across to our finish for 613E, 706. Now we need to price our cylinder and keying options. Page 158 is where you'll find the ad for the Access 3. AS adds $61 per cylinder. Page 159 is where we find the keying charges. Because it's conventional core, we have a keying charge. If it was interchangeable core, it would include the keying charges. So here's our master keyed all cylinders except for interchangeable core. Add $16 per cylinder. So 706 plus 61 plus 16 is 783. We're going to do one more because I want to show you why we should specify handing. That would be our 3800 series privacy function lock, left hand, Princeton lever, 2 3/4 back set, a 2 3/4 curved lip box strike, 1 3/4 length, split finish, black oxidized outside, white suede inside. So when we specify split finishes like this, We need to know the handing, because if it's a in-swing door, we want the strike and the face of the latch bolt to match the inside. If it's outswing, if it's reverse bevel, we want that latch and the strike to match the outside finish. So you need to specify the finish and then the handing outside by inside. Let's take a look at our part number stream. CL38 functions 20 because it's privacy. Our lever is PZ, D rows. The back set's 2 3/4 standard. We didn't ask for anything different. We asked for a smaller strike, the curved box strike, SC 134. That tells us it's an 1 3/4 length. Our finish is 722 by WSP. Our handing is left hand. There's our part number stream, CL3820 PZD 722 by WSP, left hand, SC 134. Now we know exactly how to build that lock, what that latch bolt should be, what that strike should be. Let's go ahead and price this one up quick. I'm in the price book here on page 175. Notice the AZD, the NZD, the PZD are all priced the same. So we have to come down and we have to find our CL3820. But for pricing, we have a little bit of an issue. We have to go to the options section on page 177 to find the price for split finish. And that tells us that for split finishes, the higher price prevails. So we come across to our columns and we find the white suede powder coat is in the left price column. The 722 is in the right price column. So we'll have to pick the 722 pricing. So that's $259 versus the $243. The higher list price prevails. And then we have to find our strike. Let's go ahead to page 177. Also shows us the strikes. 1 3/4, SC 1 3/4 adds $17 per lock set. So that lock set is $276. That brings us to the end of the cylindrical lock. All right. Let's go ahead and take a look at our results here. It was pretty across the board here. How many cylindrical lock series does Corbin Russwin offer? Well, there are 7 series, 5 lever and 2 knob. The CL3100, 3300, 3500, 3800, and the TL series. Those are our 5 levers, and then the 2 knob, the CK42 and the 43. I'm sorry, the 43 and the 4400. Question number 2. Can Corbin Russwin offer interchangeable core keying in cylindrical locks? Was multiple choice there. Corbin Russwin can offer large format interchangeable core cylinders. Everybody got that one right. Corbin Russwin cannot supply interchangeable cores at all. No. Corbin Russwin can prep for every manufacturer of interchangeable core. A couple people had that. We can do small format cylinder by others. That was the second answer I was looking for. We cannot prep for every manufacturer, but you did see options for small format for the Schlage large format. However, there are a plethora of other companies, so I would not go out on the limb and say that they can do every. If you have a specific question, you could reach out to technical product support. Corbin Russwin offers several different keyways, over 170 standard keyways to accommodate new and existing systems. We do have some restricted keyways, which are territorially restricted. We have some patented where duplication is a problem. We have some security keyways where you need an extra locking point, making it harder to pick. We also have high security products, which are attack and drill resistant. So let's go ahead and start with our mechanical cylinders. We're going to talk about the different products, our open keyways, our restricted keyways, our utility patented, our security, our high security products. All those are available through Corbin Russwin. Let's go ahead and take a look at a little chart that shows you the part numbers and how they change based on the application and what you need. We start over on the left-hand side and we look at our standard, what we call our conventional fixed core cylinders. Our mortise is the 1000 series. Our rim is the 3000 series. Our component cylinders are the 2000 series. Notice the change in nomenclature when we go from our standard or open keyway type products. Our M-Heart security will change the third digit from a 0 to a 1. If we go to our pyramid protected keyways, that second digit changes from a 0 to a 2. If we go to our Access 3 patented, it changes the second digit to a 5. On Access 3 security, it changes the second digit to a 6. On Access 3 high security, it changes the second digit to a 7. So on all of our fixed core type products, that second or third digit changes to signify a change from standard to a security or high security. Taking a look at our interchangeable core products, we start out with our 1000 series cylinder becomes a 1080. For a rim cylinder, goes from a 3000 to a 3080. If you're buying the core by itself, it's an 8000 series core. When we go to our M-Heart product, that third digit changes to a 9 for a mortise or a rim. Or the core itself is an 8010 instead of an 8000. For pyramid, it starts out as a 1030 for a mortise, 3030 for a rim, and an 8020 for the core itself. This is where it changes slightly. The second and third digit, if we're going to Access 3 patented security and high security, the second and third digit changes from a 1000 to a 1580, from a 3080 to a 3580 for patented. The core itself is an 8500. For the Access 3 security, it goes from a 1080 to a 1680, a 3680, or an 8600. For high security, it goes to 1788, 3780, and 8700. Again, these are requirements. You cannot put security or high security into a standard housing. It will fit, but it will not have the high security certification. If you want us to supply a housing only to fit small format interchangeable core, that's going to be a 1040 or a 3040. And again, we don't offer any keyways, it's just the housing only. This part number stream right here, the scheme overview is taken right out of the catalog, and it changes the cylinder type or the mechanism or the function. That last digit can change as well. Then the next digit for a mortise cylinder would be a length. And with Corbin Russwin, it starts out as a 100 for a 1 inch. If you want an inch and an eighth, it's a 118, inch and a quarter, 114, and so on. Rim devices. For the rim cylinder, you would specify the tailpiece length, not the actual cylinder length itself. The 058 is a 5/8 inch length, which is what's used with our exit device trims. We can do up to a 3.5 inch long tailpiece on the back of that. The next digits for mortise lock would be the cam. Again, they have several different cams based on the application, based on the function of the lock itself. If it's being used in other products like Adams Wright deadlocks, we have a Adams Wright cam that's designed for that as well. And then we would specify 6 or 7 pin, then our keyway. So let's go ahead and take a look at the 1000 series mortise cylinder in a little bit more depth. Our 1000 series is our standard fixed core conventional mortise cylinder. It can be from 1 inch to 3 3/4 inch. That code would be either a 100 or a 334, and anything in between that. Multiple cam options available based on application, based on the function of the lock and where that mortise cylinder is being used. 6-pin is standard. We can do 5-pin or 7-pin, and we'll talk about that keying here in a little bit. 11 basic architectural finishes. Now, if we change that 1000 series, if you're using that with a rose trim or what we call a sectional trim and a mortise lock, you would need a trim ring on that. If you're putting that into an escutcheon, then you may or may not need a trim ring. Corbin Russwin has our 1100 series, which is what we call our flex head cylinders. The head itself is spring-loaded. It's designed for our conventional and master key systems. Only make that in 3 different lengths with 2 different cam options, 10 finishes. Again, it allows for minor variations in door thickness. Only be used in sectional trims. And the lengths that we offer that are 1 inch, 1.1 inch, and 1/4 inch. The A01 and A02 cam. It's not widely used, but it does exist. And I alluded to master ring a couple times. We'll get there. I'll show you what that means in a minute. Our 1200 series is our PO quick code we talked about, plug only to show. That's showing you how that would work and what it looks like. Available only with the A01 and A02 cam in 5 lengths, 1 inch, 1.1 inch, 1.25 inch, 1.3 inch, 1.5 inch. Again, if you're using that with that particular escutcheon for plug only to show, it's a little bit of a security feature. Some specialty cylinders. We do offer a thumb turn cylinder in the mortise configuration. We also have a dummy cylinder. Again, a dummy cylinder is to use spaces where a prep was made that doesn't need to be. That gives you something with the Corbin Russwin logo. It looks a little prettier. We also offer our rim cylinders, our 3000 series. Again, 7 different tailpiece lengths. You specify that. It also comes in standard where you can actually break it. It's got some segments to it. But if you break it too short, it's no good to you. You'll have to buy a new tailpiece. 6-pin is standard. We can do it in 7. We offer the 3300 series as a thumb turn type rim cylinder. Know that it exists. Our component cylinders are our 2000 series. Again, there's 12 different tail pieces available for it based on the application, what type of lock you're using it in for Corbin Russwin, be it a CL series, a CK series, a padlock, several different options available for that. If that last digit changed to a 1, a 2001 series is our hotel function. Again, we'll talk about hotel function in a minute. Our 2400 series is key and lever, key and knob in competitors' keyways, specifically the Schlage C keyway and the Sargent LA keyway. You can buy them through us if you want. We don't key them into a system, but we can provide them in that keyway. The 2200 series are our cylinders that we can put into other manufacturers, such as Alarm Lock, Arrow, Lockwood, Sargent, Schlage, Yale. We offer different tailpiece configurations, so you can key a new system into somebody else's existing lock if you absolutely wanted to. We have our 4200 series, which is a cylinder that's designed for Adams Rite specific pulls. Our 4400 series is for our deadbolt. It looks very similar to our other component cylinders, but it's designed with a special tailpiece for that particular lock. Our interchangeable core, 8000 series is our core only. 6 or 7-pin availability. Many different keyway options are conventional. We can do security. We can do patented. We'll talk about those in a minute. They are available either keyed random, uncomminated. We can also do these as temporary cores as well for construction projects. I will warn you, distributors, if you're buying interchangeable core, you have to specify that you want the control key. That is how you take that interchangeable core out of the lock set and service it. Without the control key, it will not work. You must order it. We do not give it to you because we know you need one anyway, but you have to order it. You have to specify it. Our 1080 is our complete large format interchangeable core cylinder. 1070 is the housing for large format. 1040 is our small format housing. Available 6 different lengths, 10 different cams, 6 or 7 pin. The temporary construction cores we'll get to in a second. Our rim cylinder is the 3080 series for a complete, including cylinder. 3070 is for the housing only. 3040 is small format housing. Again, I said we're going to talk about temporary cores. Here we are. Our 8000 series core for construction keying, we offer red, blue, and green keyed cores. And the reason we offer that, every red core in the United States that you see is keyed exactly the same. Every blue core that you see on the United States is keyed the same. Every green, the same thing. We used to only offer these in red. And you start thinking about construction projects. If you have 2 build outs going concurrently in the same shell and you're fitting them out and they're both Corbin Russwin and they both have red cores in them, that means that contractor A, if he was a bad person, could go into contractor B's site by using his same key. So by switching it up with the different colored cores, we can hopefully avoid that problem. And again, these are designed to be used during the construction phase. Then after construction, they get returned back and you put the final core in. Again, you need to specify the control keys as well if you want them. If you don't want keyed cores, we can do our temporary disposable cores, the CT6 or 7D. That gives you a plastic disposable core that can be operated with a flat blade screwdriver. Again, that saves the wear and tear on the little pins inside of the cylinder. If you don't have anything in there and you just jam a screwdriver or a wrench or something inside of there to turn those, you can cause damage to the little pins that stick out that engage with the small format core or large format core. So again, we can do small format housings and we can give you small format temporary cores. We cannot do anything keyed with small format. Everything keyed would be large format. Right? So we talked about construction cores. If you have an interchangeable core system, it's very convenient. Through the construction phase, you can use either the plastic cores or these temporaries. When the job's ready to turn over, you can go and change them out with their permanent cores. Once you put the permanent cores in, the temporary keys no longer work, which brings us to something that we can do on our conventional or fixed type cores. It's construction master keying. Construction master keying for our conventional products utilizes what we call a lost ball method. For our our Access 3 system, we use a lost wafer. It's very similar. It's a half pin thickness, and they're designed that they stay inside of the pin chamber, and the contractor's key operates them. When the permanent key is entered, those little balls or wafers will be put above, and it will slide out of the way into one of these pockets in the plug when you operate it. Once that final key is operated in that cylinder, the contractor's key no longer works. Again, we say use this sparingly because you could lose up to 40% of your theoretical change keys by doing that. We do not offer this with our security or our pyramid for that reason. And it could affect your lead times as well if you're doing construction master keying. I mentioned hotel function. These are used with what we call our hotel function locks. If you think about hotel function, nowadays everyone uses a card to access their hotel room. But back in the old days, there used to be a key. You'd get a key from the front desk, and you would go in and then you would turn a thumb turn on the inside, which meant that the facilities or the housekeeping could not enter their key and get into it. Well, the industry changed. They went to card access for those doors. Works the same way. But we still have this mechanical lock, so we found other uses for it. Specific in schools. that have teacher restrooms in corridors in public spaces. The door's locked all the time. The teacher uses their key to enter those restrooms, and they're usually single-seater type restrooms. They turn the thumb turn on the inside, and that locks out every other key from entering it while they're in there. So that keeps the teacher safe in there. Somebody doesn't accidentally walk in on them while they're doing their business. There is an emergency master key, a special cut key that is designed in an event of emergency. If a teacher goes in there and passes out, somewhere in the office, somewhere in facilities, there is an emergency master key for that. They can then go in and rescue that teacher. Again, we're now seeing schools going to keypad locks or other special function access control products for that, but because it exists, it's an option if you're not doing access control in a school. Another option is bump resistant cylinders. We utilize special pins. What bump picking is, it's been around forever, but about 4 or 5 years ago, some people got onto social media and put up YouTube videos showing how easy it was to bypass a cylinder by putting a special cut key in and wrapping on the back of it with a mallet and making the pins jump and creating what we call a shear line in the cylinder. Well, by specifying BRP, it gives you these special top pins that have false shear lines in it that make it harder to bump pick. Now, they showed how easy it was on YouTube, but they didn't tell you that you had to have a specially cut key. And you're not going to be able to go to a locksmith and say, hey, can I have a key to bump pick locks? They're not going to do it for you. But we don't see it as a big thing anymore, but we did address it because the industry asked us to. Cylinder and key stamping. Visual key control. Do you want something stamped on the cylinder or on the key itself? We have several different options. Again, I would never recommend putting the key set symbol on the key and on the face of the cylinder, because if the key got lost, then they would know exactly what cylinder that operates. If you're going to do visual key control like that, you want the key set on both of them. Put the key set symbol somewhere else on the cylinder. I don't even know that you need it on the cylinder personally, but we can do it because that's what the a customer's always right. We give the customer what they ask for. So we talked about some of the options here. Let's talk about our keyways, our key systems. Conventional. This is our stock keyway family here that we're showing you. The L1, the L2, the L3, and the L4. If you're ordering stock from us and you don't specify, you're going to get the L4. We also have our D1 and our 60 keyway, which are also the former stock keyways when Corbin and Russwin were separate companies. A lot of stocking distributors still carry those. So we do offer that, but you have to specify it. And what we're showing you here is a multiplex keyway family. And how that works is, you see we have 4 different keyways there. The L1, the L2, the L3, the L4. If your system was large enough, because you only have a limited number of available change keys when you master key a lock. And with Corbin Russwin's standard System 70, we have a maximum of 15,625 changes available under a master. That's theoretical. Now, some requirements of the key itself are going to change that. We don't want deep cuts near the bow of the key because it makes it weak. So that will eliminate some. We also have what we call maximum adjacent cut violations, where you can't have a deep cut next to a shallow cut. So that eats away at that 15,625. However, if you had a large enough system, you could reuse different areas. You could say this was a school district and you had 2 elementary schools and 2 middle schools. Well, one of the elementary schools could be on L1, the other one could be on L2. The middle schools could be on L3 and L4 respectively. And you could cut the master keys on L12, L34, or L41. Those are keys that enter and operate everything below it if they're cut right. They will at least enter into the cylinder. So by doing that, you could cut your grandmaster key on L41 and they could operate everything below it in the other families. Now, We have what we call simplex keyways. There's just a keyway and has one key and nothing else, no other relationship to it. But we have several different of these, what we call multiplexes. Here are the current multiplex keyways. We have the 59, the L, the D, and the H. We also have the older ones, the 27, the 57, the 67, the 77, 981, A, N, and 852. That goes way back in history where we've built systems in the early 1900s. And if someone's still using those keyways, we still offer them. The older ones we won't do new systems on. Anything that's required now, we'll try to keep to those common families if we can't get them to go to a patented system. And the simplex keyways, there are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 simplex keyways, which means one key, one keyway. What we're showing you here is the 59 family, where there's actually 9 different keyways available. And when you see the circle around, that's the actual keyway. And you see just the key, that is the key that bypasses and enters and operates everything below it. Now, the downside to that, because this is all open, conventional, there's no patent on any of the keys or key ways, locksmiths like to stock that top level key, that 59 AD key. If they stock that key blank, they have a key that will enter 9 different keyways, which is great for a stocking locksmith, not so great for the end user because that key is going to be significantly thinner than the actual key at the bottom of the chart there. So when we get into multiplex systems, know that there are some benefits to it and some limitations as well. Corbin Russwin has what we call our restricted keyways. These are done limited sales. There are 8 keyways in the HO family, 8 keyways in our 62. And while they're not patented, we limit the sale of these. They are only in certain geographies. They will not do 2 of the same keyway in a close proximity to each other. And this is a keyway that's not used in that much of a fashion, whereas locksmiths would want to stock it or would even have access to buy the key blanks for it. So it gives the owner some protection. Again, the open keyways here, if Home Depot in their machine had a key that would operate that, they're not going to ask. They're not going to just going to run through it. With these ones, they won't have those keyways. We have our protected class here as well. The patents expired in 2007, but there are 24 different keyways available in their protected class. We still require key notices of acceptance and agreements and key policies. We don't sell the key blanks to locksmiths, things like that. Know that there's a little bit of protection, but that doesn't stop anybody from being able to manufacture that if they really wanted to. So let's talk about Corbin Russwin's keying system. We're going to get much deeper into this here, but I just want to lay out some basic information. We talked about that 15,625 theoretical key changes. What happens is Corbin Russwin System 70 is from the early 1970s. And what it did is it consolidated the old Russwin and the old Corbin pinning systems. And their pinning systems, they used to use a much thinner pin. And you have to have a pin that is 24 thousandths thick or thicker to be considered what we call a single step. Because the old versions were a 14 thousandths or 15 thousandths, depending on the brand, they used to have 10 different pin depths, and you had to skip every other pin because they were too thin. They would cause issues with master keying. So with a 2-step progression with 10 pin depths and 4 progressions, you could only have 4,096 theoretical changes. When they consolidated under the System 70 in 1993 to the same pin thicknesses and the pin diameters between Corbin and Russwin, they use a 28 thousandth thick single step, which gives you 5 progressions on 6 chambers, which is the 15,625. So I know this is getting pretty deep into keying. If it's something that you're interested in, we can do specific keying classes. We just wanted you to know that basic information. And master keying is like a rubber band. If you stretch, if you say, I need more master keys, the more master keys you add in the system, the less changes you can have under each master. The more change keys you need under each master, the less masters you can have. Again, this will make more sense in a second. So these are our typical cylinders that we're talking about. This is our what we call our product pyramid. We have our legacy or conventional type product here on the left-hand side. That's that L, the 59, the HO, all those open keyways don't have any patent protection on them at all. Easily duplicated. We have our pyramid security and our pyramid high security. Pyramid security gives you additional protection against picking. The high security is for physical attack as well. That is a UL certification. It's called 437. All of those are what we call open or protected class. There's not a patent on them. When you come to the opposite side of the pyramid here, our Access 3 system, we have 3 different levels of product available based on your needs. It's either going to be a patented keyway, the AP, a security, which adds, again, for picking, it has an additional locking bar in it, as well as angled pins. And the high security has the drill and attack resistance, UL 437. We'll talk about that in a little bit more depth. I just want to set the table here, the different products. I told you I would tell you a little bit about Master Ring. Know that Master Ring exists. This is built around our old conventional key systems. And at one time, this goes back, actually, the Master Ring technology was invented in 1889 and has been used in different applications for different usages. And where we found was in the day when we had 5-pin systems and then 6-pin systems, and we had the double step, the 2-step mathematics, where you only had 4,096 different changes. Well, what this allowed us to do, with a normal keying method, we use what we call our plug and our shell, and we have one shear line. Well, the Master Ring utilizes a much larger 1.5-inch diameter cylinder instead of 1 1/8 inch. And there's an additional piece inside of there, an additional set of shear lines, a ring in the middle called the Master Ring, which is where all the master keys are cut. Master Ring allows you a 7-pin capacity in a 6-pin key chamber, which again adds another bunch, going from that 4,096 to 12,000 theoretical change keys. In each change key, you could reuse them. You could use the pinning a lot better because all the master keys were on the Master Ring and all the change keys were on the plug. I know I'm getting very, very deep into this, but you have to know it exists. The downside to this, you can do rim cylinders, you can do mortise cylinders, you can do key-in knob cylinders. They do not offer key-in lever in Master Ring. We don't see a lot of new systems coming out with Master Ring because if you go to a conventional with a 7-pin, you have the same amount of changes available. But there are some facilities out there that still utilize this. Large college campuses got into this in the 60s, 70s, and 80s, and we still maintain the product for them. But you can't do security, high security, anything like that with it. If you want that, then we've got to jump to our other systems. So our M-Heart system was patented in 1978. Again, we've utilized every basic keyway, every basic combination throughout the country. And the unique thing about this is this system utilized angled pins. So it's not a straight cut on your key. You'd have a left and a right cut. But your pins above it had T-slots and grooves, and they would have to line up perfectly. So that left-hand cut had to line up with the left-hand bottom pin, with the left-hand master pin, with the left-hand top pin. And if they did not all line up evenly, even if they were the right cut, they would not operate. So this was very difficult with the angle cuts and the interlocking pins. But we were able to add this to our existing system. Our existing 60 and D1 keyways, we could go to MHeart and put all of the exterior doors on this MHeart, which is a unique key, unique pinning, unique cutting. It could be the same keyway as the conventional stuff on the inside of the building, which allowed the owner to have that extra level of security on the outside. They could cut all their master keys on the MHeart key, and that MHeart key would still enter and operate all the keys on the inside, but the standard keys would not enter or operate the outside. Again, we'll maintain existing systems with this, but we cannot build new ones, which takes us to our pyramid key system, which is protected class. And what that did was a couple unique things. There was a little dimple on the bottom of the key, a little pyramid, and that had to engage a locking bar in the bottom of the cylinder for the key to operate. These were unique keyways. There were a handful of pyramid keyways that were made for this. The patent expired in 2018, but we have it in protected class. We will not sell this without notices of acceptance, letters of authorization. Locksmiths cannot buy the cylinders. We do not sell loose pieces and parts to anyone other than the end user to service these things. So it is protected class, but it doesn't mean that if Ilco or Lori wanted to, they couldn't make a key like this, but I couldn't see them doing it because it would cost a lot of money and you're not going to sell enough to make it worth your while. Our Access 3 is our newest 3-level system. It's patented through 2027. This gives us 3 different levels of security at 3 different price points. We can do some geographic exclusivity with this as well. It is field serviceable. Distributors, you can pin these. We have 8 different keyways in the family. It's a multiplex type system. We start out with our AP, which is our patented keyway. Uses standard pinning methods. The key blank itself has a utility patent, which means that until 2027, no one can make aftermarket copies of that. When we go to the AS and the AHS, we go from standard conical pins to angled pins, left, right, and center for the bottom pins. So you have to have a special machine that can cut angled keys. And the UL 437 is our high security cylinder. That is our attack, drill, and pick resistant. We put hardened steel drill resistant pins. We also put shields in this. So it is unique. There's 3 different levels. Now, we can do this on a high-low system as well. If we're going against a competitor, Schlage has their Everest and Everest Primus system. Their Everest is their patented keyway. Their Everest Primus is their high security. Their Primus can enter and operate the Everest, but the Everest cannot operate the Primus. Same here. You can go down from AHS to AP or AS to AP, but you can't go from AP and enter. It won't even enter into the key, even though they're cut very similar. So again, the owner will determine the level of restriction. If you start out with a new patented system and the owner says, I don't want to have to write out letters of authorization every time, I can opt out of it. At the beginning, they sign it once and say, I want to opt out. We'll allow them to do that. So the unique thing about it is our AP, our patented keyway, which means that till 2027, nobody can buy key blanks. So you can't go to Lowe's or Home Depot or Walmart to the kiosks and stick your key in there and get a copy made of it. That is at the same price as our conventional L4 D1 60 keyway. We do not have an upcharge for that. So note that you do have some protection there. Notable options for cylinder. Again, 6P is a 6-pin cylinder, 7P for 7-pin. LC less cylinder. AP, AS, AHS I talked about. The C tells you it's a interchangeable core, 6 or 7. D for disposable. The CT6, red, blue, or green. The CL6 is the prep without any cylinder that you're going to provide later. Again, there's that matrix. Let's talk about how to order cylinders. Okay. We talked about the 1,000 being the mortise, the 3,000 being the rim, and the 2,000 being our component. We start out with the cylinder type, then the mechanism, then the function, then the length, and then the cam, if applicable, how many pins, 6 or 7, and then our keyway. So when we start talking about ordering key systems, it can be complicated. So let's go ahead and talk about that. We want to make sure that you give us as much information. Correct and complete information will get us correct and complete product to your site. The order cannot be entered until all information is received by order entry. So what we're showing you here is a flow chart there that looks like how that system should be set up. We have a grand master key, we have 2 master keys, then we have change keys. So the master key above it operates the change keys below it. The grand master operates the masters below it, as well as the change keys. So at the very top of that pyramid, that key operates everything below it. But you start at the bottom, you can't go the opposite way. So I've talked about keys, I talked about the different pins. This is a typical 6-pin mortise cylinder that we're showing you. A rim and a component cylinder works the exact same way. You have 6 different chambers, and the chambers in the shell or the cylinder itself line up with the chambers in the plug. And the key is cut to correspond with the depth of the pins themselves. The pins that are placed will, when the key is inserted, create a shear line. The pins will be flat against the top of the plug and allow you to rotate the plug with inside the shell. So let me show you what I'm talking about here. There's our top spring, our top pin, and our bottom pins. There's our housing and our plug. We're going to go ahead and put it all back together and cut down the middle of it and show you exactly how that works. So when it's locked, the pins are in different positions. You put the proper key in, and again, it makes all those bottom pins line up with the top of the plug. That's our shear line. You can turn the key. If you had a key that was cut differently, it would not create that shear line properly, and it would not allow it to operate. So every manufacturer would have something that looks like this. You have bottom pins and top pins. A 2-step system would use 10 pin depths at the bottom, and then however many master pins they need at the top and how many top pins they need. Corbin Russwin single step uses 6 different depths for the bottom pin, and the combinations come based on that. So this is what a normal key system looks like. Okay, the most secure is a single keyed differently or keyed differently lock. If you add a master key to this is what we call a 2-level system. By master keying this lock, you're creating a second shear line. That second shear line makes that lock easier to pick. So we have a master key, which is our top key, and it operates all the change keys below it. Each one of those change keys would be separate from each other. So our master key in this instance is AA, and our change keys below it start with, our key set would be 1AA, 2AA, 3AA, 4AA, and so on. Now that is a 2-level system. So again, a master key operates it and the change key operates it. Now we're going to jump up to a 3-level system. A 3-level system, or a grandmaster key, has our grandmaster key A. We have 3 different master keys, AA, AB, AC, and then we have the change keys underneath that. Notice what happened to the key set symbol for the change keys. On a 2-level system, it would be 1AA, 2AA, 3AA. On a 3-level system, it's AA1, AA2, AA3. That way, when you send the order in and you use those as your key set symbols, these are DHI standard format. If you use these key set symbols, the factory will know that it's a grandmaster key, not a master key system. It could be confusing otherwise. So what's the effect, again, of a grandmaster key and a master key in that cylinder? Let's take a look. We're entering our change key in here. Notice the brass colored pins. They represent our master and our grandmaster pinning. Our change key, we have one shear line. Our master key, notice the position of the gold pins. They're in a different location. Have a shear line for our master key. Then we'll put our grandmaster. Our grandmaster key now has a third shear line. So that's a level 3. That's very common. You'd see that in school districts, hospitals, things like that. But there are 4-level, 5-level, 6-level, and so on. But again, the more complex, the more keys you have that operate a cylinder, the less secure a cylinder is. So it might be a good idea to ask the owner, does it really matter if you carry 2 keys versus 1 key? For security reasons, if security is paramount, then maybe you should carry 2 keys or 3 keys. We try to avoid the situation where those facilities people are carrying a key ring bigger than their head, but again, we try to keep keying as simple as possible. Keying, master keying is for convenience, not for security. So when you order from us, give us as much information as you can. Ask your DSS rep for help. That's what we're here for. Don't assume that we know what you're thinking, because we don't. Okay? It's a team effort between the customer, tech support, customer service, key records, our DSS reps. We all do our part to make sure that everything works the way the owner wants it to work. Okay, the key records, they are the ones that actually process the factory keyed orders. They transmit the requirements to the plant. They maintain the existing customer's records. They make sure that we know at the factory, if it's a factory generated system, what the next available change keys are, what has been used, what hasn't been used. And we give support to the end user customer, to our distributors, to our field salespeople. We'll design a system from the ground up if need be, or we'll expand on an existing system if we have it. Again, lead times are always calculated from the date everything is correct and complete. So giving us the information that you have to the best of your ability will make everything work smoothly. So again, the customer needs to know, will the system work? Does it exist? Is it something that is still current? The key set symbols, again, the DHI format, use that. We all understand that. Every manufacturer uses that same basic layout. They use the same key set symbols, except for Best. Best actually jumps into a level 4 or level 5 system immediately, and they start talking about sub-master keys. All that is another level of master keying. But again, to the untrained ear, it can be very confusing. So authorization procedures. If you're doing a restricted, a patented, a security, a high security, there are procedures. There are forms that need to be filled out. You need to make sure that they are included, because if they're not included, then we can't order. We have manual order forms listed in our price book. Let's walk through our keyed order lead sheets here quickly and take a look at some of the things that, that we need to fill out. Okay. These are our keyed order lead sheets. We always recommend filling them out. This will give us all of the information that we need to, first of all, expand an existing system or to build a new system. We'll walk through and I'll blow up some of these pages so you can see what I'm talking about. The first thing after your customer name and purchase order number, system status. Is it a new system? If it's new, we want to know a little bit about the system. What are you designing for? What's the future? How many expansions are they going to do? For existing, confirm the system. We need to know the original registry number of that system or a factory order number. And what are they expanding? What's there available to expand? Again, the conversation with key records will help you determine that before you send the order in. So is it a new or existing? Is it customer biddings? How are they read? Our System 70 and our pre-System 70 could be read differently. We always for System 70, we read the key from the bow to the tip. Some of our older systems are read tip to bow. Some other manufacturers do that as well. So if the owner is used to doing something different, we need to know. The highest level of system, is it special, single key, different, master key, grandmastered, great grandmaster, great grandmaster? It all needs to be explained. The system type, conventional, interchangeable core, access 3, all that information would need to be given to us. If we're keying into an existing system, we need a couple things. One of them would be the registry number. That registry number should be stamped on the master keys or the control keys. If you ask an owner for that key and it doesn't say Corbin Russwin on it, then that's not the original master key. So we have some issues. We need to figure out that, what that registry number was. We can sometimes do that based on the location of the school, the name and address and zip code of the school. But we have to remember that what was in 1982 3rd Street Elementary, after the next 10 renovations, it's now called the Krista McAuliffe Elementary School. Well, the factory wouldn't know that unless they were given that information. So the address would help. We can cross-reference it by that. Or if you can read the key with a key code, tell us the top master key bidding and what the keyway is, or the original order number would be helpful. Perfect thing would be the registry number. Then we know exactly what's done. If we're keying into something that somebody else built that we didn't create at Corbin Russwin, we have to make sure that we have pre-approval. The fact that they're going to want to look at that in key records to make sure that that system can be even expanded, that they followed our rules. If there's something in there that is an issue, if it's a 2-step system and they're only pinning it single step, that could cause a lot of key interchange problems, and we would probably not want to be involved with that. To key into somebody else's system, we need an authorization letter as well as a liability release letter stating us we're harmless if something happens. If somebody's key works where it's not supposed to, that's not our fault because we did what you asked us to do. Again, if we can't comply, we may have to reject it. Notes attached for complex keying information, for expansion, for cross-keying details. Again, we're going to ask you what keyway you want. If it's a specific keyway, you have to tell us. If not, we're going to select the right one based on the geography. If it's a standard, we're going to find a keyway. It might not be L4. Distributors sometimes like to make every job in their area the same keyway, which is convenient for them for their stock. But again, it doesn't help the owner much because there's a lot of systems in one little geographical area that could possible interchange. How many pins the system are? 6-pin is default. 7-pin gives you additional keying options. The depth of the system, again, it's specific. Our system 70 is our default. If it's pre-system 70, we need to know if it's Corbin or Russwin because the specifications are different. Our access 3, patented versus our security and high security, we need to know that as well. Key stamping, how do you want those keys stamped? How do you want the cylinder stamped? All that information needs to know. Special stamping, if there's something special you want stamped on the key, we can do that. We can do custom coining dies as well. If your customer wants their logo on their key, we can do that. If anyone's familiar with Tyco Electronics, Tyco Electronics is a Corbin Russwin customer. They have Corbin Russwin key system, and they spent the several $1,000s to have a custom coin done. So all of their Tyco buildings will have their Tyco logo stamped on their key. That way they know it's a factory original key. Key quantity requirements. How many master keys? How many change keys? How many change keys per cylinder, key to light groups? Control keys, how many of those do you need? Construction master keys. Any, special function keys, housekeeping keys, janitor keys, engineering keys. That's just another level of master keying, so they're what they call a selective master key. Any of those things that you add will have a detriment to the system, so use them sparingly. Again, anything that's special, you need to tell us. You need to tell us how many of each of those keys you need. Authorization. New keyway, restricted keyways, things like that need to be requested from the owner. They need to give you a letter of authorization in order to get the bidding lists, to get that restricted information ordered. Cross keying. Now, we don't recommend cross keying, but we will do it in our standard conventional stuff. And what we're talking about is, think about an office suite, where that front door to that suite, every employee inside that suite has a key that operates their door. Well, they also want that key to operate that suite entry door. And again, that's keying for convenience. That would say that say there's 6 offices inside that room, that key or the cylinder in that front door would be keyed to its own plus 6 others, plus a master, plus a grandmaster, creating multiple scads of different possible shear lines inside that lock. That will degrade the ability to continue your master key system. We try to avoid cross keying because it's not for security, it's for convenience. And again, this is where we say, does it really matter? Can't you carry 2 keys? Does everybody need access to that door? If everyone needs access to that door, why are you locking it? So those are the questions that would come out in that key meeting. Sold to information. We need to know who we sold it to. We need a purchase order number. We need information here for pricing. Did you bid this job a year ago? Do you have a quote on it? If the quote's expired, you have to reach out to your DSS rep to see if it can be updated, if it has to go to a new price book or whatever has to happen to it. But sometimes we can't hold the line on certain situations. So we need to know the quote, what the discount quoted was. You specify all that right out on that page. Packing and marking. Do you want the change keys shipped with the locks? For our standard product, our conventional product, that's how it's done. For security, for pyramid or construction master keying, the change keys always go separate to another location. So you specify ship the change keys to what address, to whom's attention. For the master keys, the same thing. Do you want those master keys shipped to the distributor, to the contractor, or to the owner direct? I would say the owner direct for the master keys because you don't want anybody having their hands on those. How do you want the boxes labeled? Do you want a door number? Do you want a heading? Do you want a key set symbol? I would say the door number is probably the most important, followed by the heading second. At the end, contact information. Somebody in your facility who is familiar with the order, not the purchasing agent. The person who sat in on the key meeting, who wrote up the order form, who knows exactly how it's supposed to work. The bidding list. Is there a bidding list that's to be provided? If so, you need a letter of authorization. If you attached it, they're going to mail that bidding list to wherever you tell. If you order the bidding list with the key system, it's free. If you come to us later and ask for a bidding list, there's going to be an administrative fee to get it. Again, couple quick things. Checklist. Is the registry number or order number identified? Do you have all the authorization letters? Have you talked about the expansion requirements for new systems? If it's an existing system, did you put the next available change key? If you've used AA1 through AA10, your next one under AA should be AA11. If you do AA1, they're going to start over again. Use the same so you could have key interchange. Are you missing any key symbols? Are master key quantities detailed, including the control keys? Cross-keying information. Can we do what you're asking? There's 2 different types of cross-keying, what they call controlled and uncontrolled. Controlled is everything underneath one master, if you wanted several keys to work that. Uncontrolled would be across multiple masters. So if you wanted some change key sets under AB and AC to work something under AA, that will degrade the system horribly. Operating conditions on cross-keying sets, will that work? Are you making sure that you're not going to have accidental interchange? If it's a field established system, have we gotten the release letter from the owner? Are you using non-DHI symbols as key sets? If you are, we're going to have to take some time to evaluate what you've done, and we're going to ask a lot of questions. If you can use the DHI symbols, the standard AA1, AA2, AA3. It's going to make life so much easier. Did you include the quote number and the contact information? If you have all that information, it will make things work much smoother. These are the rest of the keying forms that come with the Corbin Russwin order forms. This gives you the cylinders ordered with the lock sets. This is for cylinders ordered loose by themselves. This is for just other products that are ordered in. It's all based on the product, the series, the function, the trim, the keyway, the finish. Anything changes in any of those, you got to do another sheet. So all the same functions should be on one sheet. If the finish changes, you use another sheet, and you list out how many, what the key set symbol is, what the hand is, your door number, and then the heading. That way everything gets put in the right box, marked the right way. Do we have any questions? I'll hang on for a couple minutes. And if you don't have any questions, we will go ahead and end this.